Part 189. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1884. Jia Yan has been laughed at by the Zerg Queen a lot during this period of time. But precisely because he didn't understand anything, the Zerg Queen had an increasingly high opinion of him. He didn't even understand the basics, but he figured out the yin and yang dao, and then the fighting methods of subspace. After that, he used these superficial fighting methods to defeat so many junior and middle-level creatures in the galaxy. This required Jia Yan's fighting instincts. It was very strong, and it also required him to use the superficial combat rules he understood to the limit. Now, the Zerg Queen has taught Jia Yan a lot of real knowledge, and she is also looking forward to how much Jia Yan will improve after this retreat. She hoped that she wouldn't be disappointed. Time passes quickly. Finally, the 1-month period is approaching. In the retreat place, there are already several galaxy-level beings, all gearing up outside the planet, waiting for Jia Yan to come out of retreat. This guy must have known about the 1-month period, and now he just refuses to show up on the planet. Haha, I think he thinks so too. After all, he is currently being watched by all of us, and Her Majesty the Queen is also looking forward to him for a month now. If he is challenged by us, as long as the failure is more exaggerated, it is estimated that the Queen won't care so much about him anymore. Speaking of which, this Jia Yan actually lives on this planet. Isn't this planet where the previous Senior Beeman lived? Yes, this is Senior Beeman's planet, right? This Jia Yan is really brave. He actually dares to use the planet carefully built by Senior Beeman. That is to say, Senior Beeman has not come back. If he comes back, he will probably be Senior Beeman will be beaten to death. Yes, it's a pity that Senior Beeman didn't come back. When he does, we will have a good show. Several elementary galaxy-level creatures were waiting quietly on the retreat planet where Jia Yan was located. They will not really wait for Jia Yan to show up. If they arrive on time within a month, then even if Jia Yan is hiding in the planet, they will definitely knock on the door. Of course, as long as they use words to provoke him, even if the other party wants to hide, they probably showed up just to save face. They also don't want to destroy Senior Beeman's planet. After all, that existence is a mid-level galaxy creature. These creatures who came here are all at the elementary level of the galaxy, because Jia Yan is at the elementary level of the galaxy. Other mid-level creatures from the galaxy will not take action against a strong person at the elementary level of the galaxy, otherwise they will be laughed at. Of course, they had also heard that Jia Yan had killed a mid-level galaxy creature before coming to the Zerg domain, but they did not think that Jia Yan's record was anything extraordinary. They are different from ordinary galaxy intermediates. They are galaxy intermediates with extremely powerful talents. At least in their opinion, compared with the galaxy intermediates in the surrounding ordinary star fields, they have at least received the guidance of Her Majesty the Queen of the Zerg. Such strength is compared to those of the galaxy intermediates. Ordinary mid-level warriors in the galaxy are definitely much stronger. Therefore, if Jia Yan can kill an ordinary mid-level galaxy, he is still a junior in their eyes, so they will never do anything to this early-level giant mosquito of galaxy. At most, he will only let a few galaxy who are friends with him elementary creature, come and test this talented person who is attracting the Queen's attention. Everyone, why are you in front of my planet? Ha ha ha, did you know the news of my return from the border of the Zerg territory, so you are waiting for me here? Everyone is interested. When a group of primary creatures from the galaxy were gearing up and eager to try on the planet where Jia Yan lived, a hearty voice appeared behind the group of primary warriors from the galaxy. As for the first-level powerhouses in the galaxy who were preparing to fight, each one was startled, and then their expressions changed a little. You know, they are among the first-level beings in the galaxy, and their talents are considered to be top-notch. But this coming strong man actually came close and spoke, and they felt the other party's arrival. It was obvious that this coming strong man was definitely more powerful than them. Galaxy Intermediate Level. Ah, it's Senior Beeman. The expressions of each of the first-level powerhouses in the galaxy changed. Then they looked back and saw an extremely tall creature. The strength of this creature is approximately at the early stage of intermediate galaxy. Although it is only at the early stage of intermediate stage, its strength is almost earth-shattering. Each of the several primary galaxy-level powerhouses present were all powerful and talented, but they did not dare to offend any of the galaxy's mid-level beings who had a place in the Zerg domain. Because these galaxy intermediates, even if they all think that the other party's talent is not as good as their own, in terms of strength, galaxy intermediates are galaxy intermediates. They are different from ordinary outside galaxy intermediates. They have absolutely no shortage of talent, because Her Majesty the Queen will never allow mid-level galactic creatures with average talents to come to this treasured land for cultivation. I've met Senior Beeman. A group of elementary creatures from the galaxy quickly greeted the incoming middle-level strong man from the galaxy with great respect. Well, we didn't know about the arrival of Senior Beeman. A first-level galactic powerhouse is obviously the most powerful among all the first-level galactic talents here, and he is also everyone's spokesperson by default. The spokesman was embarrassed. Although he is the strongest primary-level galaxy being present, he does not think highly of the mid-level galaxy being in front of him. He thinks that as soon as he reaches the mid-level galaxy, he will definitely kill the opponent without any discussion, but now he still thinks that the opponent's strength is he was a little stronger than himself, so he was a little embarrassed about his current state. He and others actually surrounded the other party's planet. Although it was to deal with other people on the planet, they would naturally be embarrassed if they were caught. But soon, his thoughts turned to other places. Now that the senior is back in person, why not borrow the other party's power? After all, Jia Yan is still a popular person in front of Her Majesty the Queen. The return of this senior behemoth must have just happened. He will never know that the first-level powerhouse of the galaxy who occupies his planet is a queen. The red man in front of His Majesty, wouldn't it be more threatening to let him deal with Jia Yan than a group of beings of the same level like them? Anyway, it's not that they, a group of primary creatures from the galaxy, don't agree with Jia Yan's strength. Even the leader of the primary galaxy believes that he only has a 60% chance of winning against Jia Yan that day. If this is the case, why not? Let the middle-level senior of galaxy in front of you take action. It's like this, Senior Beeman. Several of us learned earlier that a new friend of the same class who is a junior member of the galaxy has arrived. Originally, we still had the intention of dating, but we heard a few days ago that as soon as this friend of the same class came, he fell in love with the planet of his predecessors. We tried hard to persuade him, but he just refused to listen to our advice and insisted on occupying your planet. He even said that you have been away for so long, and it is not certain whether you died outside, so we can't stop it. Then, I thought about taking advantage of the challenge to force him away. No, this guy knew that we were against him, so he hid and took advantage of the rule that newcomers have a 1-month protection period. He hid in and practiced and refused to come out to accept us. Challenge. That's right, Senior Beeman, we have told him several times, but he just refuses to listen. The 2 or 3 elementary creatures of the galaxy were startled for a moment after hearing what the leader said, and then each of them spoke one after another. Even if they use some lies, no matter what method the galaxy-level creatures use, as long as they win the battle, it is the best. Every strong person will not hesitate to use similar methods to solve the enemy with the minimum effort. As for the limits of the strong, or the self-esteem of the strong, they may pay attention to these things for the weak, but for those of the same level, or even those who may even surpass them, they are extremely happy to use this method. Oh! Beeman was startled at first, and unbelieving thoughts flashed through his mind. He had not been away for long, just a few months, and someone came to occupy his planet. Although this planet has a bit more energy than the surrounding planets, for a strong person, such a small amount of energy is just a drop in the bucket. He didn't believe that any blind newcomer would dare to occupy the lair of a mid-level galaxy being. Is this newcomer a beginner in the galaxy? Beeman asked with some uncertainty. Since the group of primary level creatures in the galaxy in front of us dare to challenge them, they should be the primary level creatures in the galaxy. But he is also afraid that if this person is a mid-level star, then he will have to take a long-term approach. Battles or disputes at the middle level of the galaxy will often have a great impact. That's right, Senior Beeman, this is a junior being from the galaxy, but he's pretty decent with his talent, but he's just arrogant. Several elementary creatures from the galaxy responded quickly. Humph, no matter whether you are using me as your spear user or not, it is unreasonable that this mere elementary creature from the galaxy dares to come and occupy my planet. Let me treat him. Behemoth heard and sneered directly after knowing that the other party's specific strength was the primary level of galaxy. He also said, what kind of strength is the other party? He is actually a strong man at the beginning of the galaxy. In this case, he is not afraid anymore. The elementary level of galaxy is the elementary level of galaxy. Even if he is as talented as the leader of the elementary level of galaxy in front of him, he is still far behind their intermediate level of galaxy. What's more, this Beeman is still a slightly talented person among the mid-level stars of the galaxy, otherwise he would not be favored by the Queen of the Zerg. So what else is there to say? Give this so-called newcomer a look and let him understand that there are still certain principles in this galaxy-level training place in the Zerg domain. That is, the strong cannot be disrespected. Buzz. Beeman moved directly, reaching the limit of speed. So fast, Senior Beeman, this time I went out, my strength actually improved. As expected of someone who has been personally taught by Her Majesty the Queen. He left this time because his strength has reached a certain bottleneck. It's so interesting. Several elementary creatures in the galaxy were slightly shocked by Beeman's improvement in strength. Fortunately, they had not shown any disrespect to this mid-level galaxy senior before. Otherwise, Beeman, who had improved a little in strength, would definitely beat them into pig heads. Killing is impossible. In this Zerg domain, even if they are fighting each other, they will never kill because this is not allowed by the rules. As for Nobuman, he flew back to his own planet. When he took a closer look, his nose was almost crooked with anger. What? The beautiful planet that I personally decorated has turned into this? What a shabby house. Although it only occupies the other half that I haven't had time to decorate yet, what kind of aesthetics does it have? It ruins the scenery that my other half has decorated. Did the newcomer decorate this? He can decorate such a house, and his ability to use brainwave power is not bad at all. There is a huge difference in terms of precision. A person like this still wants to challenge me, a middle-level galaxy being? I'm afraid I haven't fought against ordinary galaxy middle-level beings in the outside world and can escape from them, so come here, are you showing off here too? This mid-level galaxy creature looked unhappy. Asshole! Jia Yan, get out of here! Beeman roared angrily. He already knew Jia Yan's name from the conversation with several elementary creatures of the galaxy just now. Although he didn't know what kind of talent Jia Yan was, as long as he knew that the other party was the elementary creature of the galaxy, he had nothing to be afraid of. There is no need for Jia Yan's information. In the planet, in the shabby stone house that was rough but atmospheric, Jia Yan was slightly startled. He has long known that he has a 1-month protection period, and then there will be a challenge from outsiders, or he will challenge outsiders himself. Although I have also heard that several elementary level creatures in the galaxy are making up their own minds and giving themselves a chance to show off. But Jia Yan didn't expect that the other party would dare to challenge him just after 1 month. This is not prudent at all. Wrong. Jia Yan was shocked when he released his brainwave power to the outside world at Jiyuan. Because outside this planet, he felt a sense of strength that did not belong to the primary level of the galaxy. The visitor will definitely not be an elementary creature from the galaxy. What's going on? Could it be that in this galaxy-level training place in the Zerg domain, the intermediate galaxy can also challenge the elementary galaxy? That's right, this is the Zerg domain after all. Whatever rules Her Majesty the Queen has set, they all have their own rules. It's possible that he's just a mid-level creature from the galaxy. Wants to face a challenge to a junior powerhouse from the galaxy? No matter what, I'll go out and take a look first. Jia Yan was startled for a moment, and without thinking of the reason, he flew up directly. The huge mosquito body does not seem so huge in the rough stone house he built. After all, this house is not small. So after taking off, Jia Yan went straight to the sky above his head, and the house was not in the way at all. He is indeed a mid-level powerhouse from the galaxy. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1885. As Jia Yan went up, the oppression from the powerful people outside the planet became increasingly clear. If it's not galaxy intermediate level, then what level is it? It's actually a mid-level galaxy existence. Why, didn't I say that only geniuses of the same level as the galaxy level would challenge? Jia Yan had always been prepared that the one who would challenge him would be a strong person at the beginning level of the galaxy, but he never expected that a mid-level being from the galaxy would actually come. Boy, how can you feel so comfortable occupying my planet? Come here, hurry up, compensate me for my losses, and then get out. The mid-level creature from the galaxy stood on the planet and felt bossy to Jia Yan, who flew out of the house. As a mid-level galaxy creature, he has just improved his strength. Even if it is just a small step, in fact, no matter how small the improvement in strength is at the galaxy level, it is still a huge leap. So now, he is qualified to be confident. He felt that he could deal with a lot of middle-level beings in the galaxy, let alone a first-level strong person in the galaxy. Huh? To occupy the planet, could this guy be the so-called original owner of the planet? Jia Yan was stunned for a moment. It's not like he hasn't thought about the return of the original owner of the planet. But he never expected that someone who had not come back for several years would actually come back a month after he came to this Zerg territory. This is a bit embarrassing. Of course, the biggest problem is that if the other party comes back a few years later, Jia Yan feels that his strength will never be afraid of a mid-level galaxy powerhouse, but now. But it's a bit powerless. Don't worry, my current strength has improved a lot even if the opponent is a middle-level galactic strongman with good talent according to the standards of the Zerg domain. For me, he should not be considered extremely powerful. Bit. Jia Yan didn't even have any information about the opponent, but based on his superficial perception of strength, he felt that the gap in strength between the opponent and himself was not very big. After all, he had killed a mid-level galaxy powerhouse, and the opponent was also a mid-level galaxy being. For Jia Yan, being at the middle level of the galaxy was not a reason to suppress him. The biggest problem comes from the fact that the opponent may be a mid-level galaxy powerhouse with good talent. And such a mid-level galaxy powerhouse has a high probability of defeating Jia Yan. What's more, now, the other party has reason to take action against Jia Yan, because Jia Yan suffered first and actually occupied the residence of a mid-level galaxy being. This would be a very depressing thing for anyone. Even if the other party is an intermediate level being of the galaxy, a senior level person, it is still impossible for him to be exempt from the vulgarity. It should even be said that his place is taken over by a junior level galaxy. His lair must be angry. If there is a reason, then it is not a big deal for him to beat Jia Yan. Even if the Zerg Queen agrees to compete at the galaxy level in the star field, she will not prohibit such a battle. After all, the other party's reasons are too rational. Sir, don't you think about it? You occupied this planet, but if you don't come back for a few years, it makes sense for someone else to take it, because this is not your star field, and the planet does not necessarily belong to your personal belongings. I just let it be put to its best use. Jia Yan looked slightly solemn and explained to the other party with his own reasons. Of course, no one will listen to this explanation. Of course it's not my planet, and this is not my star domain. Otherwise, I wouldn't be having a good conversation with you now, but would start taking action from the beginning. The opponent is a creature that is more than 70 kilometers in size and has monstrous strength. He stood proudly in the starry sky, looking at Jia Yan coldly, and there was a hint of murderous intent in his eyes. A primary creature from the galaxy, according to the concept of a strong person in the universe, should call him senior, but Jia Yan didn't. Moreover, both inside and outside the words, there was no respect for him as a strong man. After all, he, the victim, really seemed to be a vulnerable group. But in fact, he is not a vulnerable group, but a supermaster who is one level stronger than the opponent. How can he endure such anger? So, Your Excellency, what do you want to do? Jia Yan's eyes also became slightly cold. At the same time, a trace of fighting spirit emerged in his heart. In the Battle of the Orion Arm, he fought with the middle-level being of the galaxy, and the fight was very enjoyable, and he fought for several days at a stretch. Here, he wanted to see if his improved strength would be the same as being in Orion's arms, and he would be able to fight comfortably with a genius-level mid-level galaxy being. Yes, Jia Yan just wants to weigh himself. As if sensing Jia Yan's fighting spirit, Behemoth was startled at first, and then seemed to have been insulted in some way. Ha ha ha, very good. You are actually willing to fight against me. Jia Yan, you are very good. It is just as they said. You are very arrogant. You are actually fighting against a person in this starry sky. Level existence, showing fighting spirit. Then, I will do as you wish, come here and have a fight. If you can win, the matter between us will naturally be wiped out. I will even give the planet to you, and I won't care about anything anymore. Jia Yan finally stopped hiding his fighting spirit. He flies faster. Really? Very good, then senior, let's do as you said. I will fight you. If I lose, I will give up the planet and compensate you a sum of money. Ken. There was almost no discussion between the two sides and they directly decided on the outcome of the battle. Far outside the planet, a group of onlookers, the first-level powerhouses of the galaxy, all looked excited. Here we go, this Jia Yan actually dared to start a war against a mid-level galaxy existence. It turns out that a newborn calf is not afraid of tigers. Haha, or rather, he is a foreign country bumpkin. He may not know that the intermediate galaxy here is completely different from the intermediate galaxy here. But think about it, after this battle, he'll understand that. A group of primary creatures from the galaxy felt that Jia Yan was too arrogant for actually daring to challenge him. It should even be said that he was the one who first exuded fighting spirit to provoke the opponent. Every galaxy-level creature here knows that there is absolutely no existence that is one level higher than it can handle. In other words, the Queen of the Zerg, when she was at the beginning of the galaxy, could defeat the intermediate galaxy here. She had to be someone who was not very deep into the intermediate stage, such as Black Sheep, the intermediate galaxy creature who studied in the Zerg domain. The most powerful existence, even the Zerg Queen in her early stage cannot defeat her opponent. Although Jia Yan is not fighting at the level of Black Sheep, and even this Beeman is only ranked last among the mid-level creatures in the galaxy, this does not mean that Beeman is weak. At least to the outside world, he is still sweeping the super galaxy mid-level existence of the same level. Therefore, in the eyes of the surrounding spectators, Jia Yan is certain to lose. Haha, this Jia Yan is quite interesting. When all the novices in the galaxy were watching this battle, even some mid-level creatures in the galaxy were attracted by the noise and came to watch the battle. A brainwave force lightly swept across this area, and then without attracting anyone's attention, it paused slightly and started to watch the battle. The master of this brainwave power is naturally the most powerful person in this star field, or should be said to be the most powerful being in the entire star field. She is the queen of the Zerg. The Zerg queen silently used her brainwave power to scan the battle between the two sides. The battle soon began. A battle between strong men can be simple, just take action when it's time to take action. Jia Yan charged in front of Behemoth. What a good boy, you actually have the courage to attack me first. Do you want to save some face before the winner is determined? Unfortunately, in my opinion, this attack is simply childish. Look at how I can defeat it with one blow. The other party's expression didn't change at all, and he even wanted to laugh. He quickly used his brainwave power to directly swing away the giant mosquito's feet that Jia Yan attacked. Then, this Beeman picked up a fist and punched the opponent's head. Not that he thought he could retain his power. It's because he knows that the Zerg Queen's character is very talented. Since Jia Yan has received her love, the Zerg Queen at this time should have released the brainwave power here to protect her after receiving the news. Jia Yan is right. That's why he dared to ignore it and didn't care whether Jia Yan was killed or injured with one punch. If the Zerg Queen ignores it, then there will be no reason for this alien being to die here. Of course, if the Zerg Queen does not take action, it shows a certain attitude on her part. However, it is unlikely that the Zerg Queen created this learning place for strong people, and it is gradually accepted by everyone because the chance of death or injury is low. Even the Zerg Queen is like a nanny, protecting every living thing here. Because even if only one of them was seriously injured, the other strong men who would come later would be suspicious of the Zerg Queen. In short, he doesn't care so much, he will beat Jia Yan half to death first. Coming opposite him, Jia Yan felt the tremendous power of this being's punch, and deeply felt how terrifying this punch was. As a strong man who came here, he had already expected that the galaxy-level beings here were definitely extremely powerful. If they didn't harm them, Jia Yan wouldn't come. But for Jia Yan, this mid-level galaxy existence was still a bit beyond his imagination. Because when I felt it before, the opponent's strength was not so powerful. This punch was truly earth-shattering. Jia Yan felt like he had nowhere to escape. Subspace talent. He didn't bother to worry about whether to receive the opponent's punch forcefully. The last time he fought with that mid-level galaxy creature, he didn't even think about fighting him head-on. That would just be courting death. What's more, this galaxy intermediate is obviously much stronger than the one he killed last time. Jia Yan didn't hesitate at all and used his subspace talent. In an instant, he entered the subspace. Puff. Then, blood sputtered out from the next body he had just entered. The opponent's punch swept across the space where Jia Yan was standing. Although Jia Yan narrowly avoided most of the punches, some of them were still injured due to the shock in the subspace. This attack power is simply appalling. Jia Yan quickly moved his body in the subspace. Here. Beeman's expression did not change at all. When he felt that Jia Yan had used the subspace talent, although he was a little shocked, it was not a shock. Thinking that in this star field, there are many creatures with subspace talent. And just as Jia Yan was moving, he seemed to be able to clearly see Jia Yan's escape route, and struck out in an instant, cutting off Jia Yan's escape route. This section of road that was cut off happened to be the place that Jia Yan wanted to pass through the most. It was so cut off that it made him very uncomfortable. This is what a person with experience in dealing with subspace creatures can do. Snort. Jia Long's pace of leaving smoothly suddenly became impassable. But after all, he was not an ordinary subspace gifted creature, so the road in front of him was cut off. Then he instantly changed his body shape and started to move. The most powerful subspace talent, in an instant, rushed to the side of the space. This kind of twist is not something that ordinary creatures with subspace talents can do. Oh! This guy is indeed a little bit out of the ordinary. That behemoth, while punching out from outside the subspace, was also a little impressed by Jia Yan's ability to reverse the direction of action in the subspace. At the same time, he understood why the Queen of the Zerg looked at this elementary creature of the galaxy in a different light. The meaning of course, he doesn't know yet that Jia Yan has actually been treated as an equal by the Zerg Queen. If he knew, he would probably be more cautious. Although Jia Yan avoided his other blocking punch, the opponent's fists came out of the sea and hit the other side where Jia Yan was avoiding in an instant. This punch can be described as a stroke of genius, which shows that this behemoth can attack freely. Hey, it's interesting. Behemoth has gained something this time out. The brainwave power of the Zerg Queen, hiding around the battlefield, feeling the change in Beeman's combat power, she couldn't help but slightly praise this mid-level galaxy creature. But naturally, she wasn't interested in Beeman's combat prowess. She was more interested in how Jia Yan should deal with Beeman's freely retractable power. I hope he won't be able to avoid even 1 or 2 punches, otherwise my previous expectations for him will be in vain. At least he can block 10 punches. If he is not injured after 10 punches, then I will admit that he is indeed it is a material worth cultivating. The Zerg Queen thought this silently. After all, Beeman seems to have developed some of the shortcomings she pointed out to him in the outside world, such as the inability to freely retract and release power attacks. In this way, Behemoth's combat effectiveness has definitely improved by leaps and bounds. The Zerg Queen, who just now thought that Jia Yan seemed to have a chance, will no longer think that Jia Yan can defeat Behemoth. Please remember the first domain name of this book. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1886. The Zerg Queen doesn't know that Jia Yan's plan is not as simple as blocking 10 punches. She didn't even realize how far the teachings she had given Jia Yan had reached. For Jia Yan, his road to becoming a talent is really too bumpy. Although he has been training in a formal base for strong education, that is, the genius battlefield, in fact, he has not been there. He didn't stay long, and he hardly stayed in the formal teaching force for long. Everything he did was a wild road. Although he has now found a formal path, a weak foundation is a weak one, and it cannot be resolved with a little bit of personal cleverness. After all, how can one person compare with the cultivation civilization of the Milky Way that lasts hundreds or even tens of millions of years? Therefore, under the guidance of the Zerg Queen, Jia Yan absorbed countless knowledge like a sponge. Jia Yan has been wondering about many of these things for a long time, but he has never had a good person to ask questions about. After all, his own progress was too fast. Even if he met someone who could be questioned, it wouldn't be long before he was better than the other person. If I have to say it, Jia Yan's basic knowledge is not lacking to the extent that others think it is exaggerated. This must be attributed to the fact that several members of his Jia Yan team are constantly communicating with him. After all, it is not that he has no knowledge. Family background. It's just that those people are weak after all. Unlike them, the Queen of the Zerg is not only noble in birth, but her strength is far different from Jia Yan. So her teachings were like Jia Yan's dry sponge that suddenly absorbed water, and countless questions were answered. The Zerg Queen also knew that the amount of help would be huge, but she never thought it would be so big. Boom! Jia Yan and the other party finally had a head-on fight. With this blow, the opponent controlled the entire subspace, leaving no chance for Jia Yan to escape. Fight! Try that power-using technique from before. With his heart slightly solemn, Jia Yan instantly used the new combat energy usage skills he understood. Then, he saw an incredible blue light erupting in the starry sky. In an instant, Jia Yan forced all the blue defense to his feet. In fact, Jia Yan has been able to do this kind of fighting method for a long time, but he did not do so because he had always thought that Azure defense should be comprehensive. But in fact, the Queen of the Zerg said that if you pursue combat effectiveness, don't think about mediocrity. If you want to defend everywhere, you will end up with a situation where your defense cannot compare with others. At this moment, Jia Yan was even more exaggerated. He put defense over attack. Now I am strengthening my feet so that they can withstand more terrifying and huge pressure. The two sides collided in an instant. One side is the fist skin of a normal mid-level galaxy creature, and the other side is the blue defensive light that blooms with terrifying light. At this moment, Jia Yan's body didn't have much azure color anymore. He only kept a little azure defense on his body, and almost the other half was forced to his right toe. So the tiptoe at this moment is an absolutely shocking defense. With the exaggerated hardness and flexibility, the power of his attack is even more astonishing. The defense is great, and sometimes it can be used as an attack. Boom! Above the sky, the power of the collision between the two sides was like a star exploding. A large amount of material was thrown out in an instant, reflecting the sky into two colors. The blue one is Jia Yan's energy block, while the opponent's is white, both of which are dazzling. Oh! The mid-level galaxy creature in front of him was shocked by Jia Yan's ability to explode with power comparable to his own. Even under a pair of blows, he showed no sign of defeat. But then, he smiled slightly. This is most likely Jia Yan's trump card. It's a killer move. It's not an unacceptable thing to be tied with my casual move, so I don't have to worry. What he didn't see was that at this moment, Jia Yan also had a strange look in his eyes. Yes, this move is the prototype of Jia Yan's future killer move. But the future trump card is not the current trump card, so Jia Yan feels that this move can withstand a blow from an extremely powerful genius galaxy intermediate, which is beyond his expectation. It seems that the Queen's cultivation of me during this period has taken effect. Jia Yan smiled coldly, and then he felt more confident in his heart. Because apart from this move, after summarizing what he had gained in a month, he compiled more moves. This move was just a test of the waters. At this moment, not only the two warring parties had different thoughts, but also the group of elementary creatures of the galaxy around them, as well as the Zerg Queen who secretly watched the battle with the power of brainwaves, were all a little surprised. Not that he was surprised, that mid-level creature from the galaxy was a little more powerful than before. Rather, he was surprised that Jia Yan was able to withstand several attacks from this mid-level galaxy creature who had improved a bit in strength. This Jia Yan can actually fight with Senior Beeman for so long. It's not like he was defeated in one move. Could it be that Senior Beeman showed mercy? No, I feel like I can't even take one of his moves. Is this Jia Yan really that powerful? Fortunately, we didn't go up to challenge him, otherwise we would definitely lose miserably. He can even neutralize the attack power of a mid-level galaxy creature. A group of primary creatures from the galaxy looked around the battlefield, and then they were completely convinced by Jia Yan. They were still thinking of a challenge, but now they saw that they were able to fight a higher level creature who was also practicing and listening here, and they were still fighting a ghost. It's definitely not going to win, okay. Especially the leader of the primary creatures of the galaxy, who had always thought that he and Jia Yan were similar, looked a little depressed at this time. Obviously, he was not Jia Yan's opponent, so he just felt that he, who had been provoking Jia Yan just now, was almost a clown. It's not that this elementary creature from the galaxy felt a little desperate after seeing Jia Yan's strength. Including him, several other elementary creatures in the galaxy will not despair. Because in addition to being genius creatures, they are also more powerful at the galaxy level. In addition to the galaxy level, they are already the complete pinnacle existence in this galaxy. Even if they cannot defeat anyone, they can still escape far away. Strong people, I still have confidence and magnanimity, so I can't possibly have any thoughts of despair. However, there is no telling in the future whether they will have such thoughts due to an attack by a certain elementary level creature from the galaxy. Puff. Above the stars, Jia Yan had another exchange of blows with the mid-level creature from the galaxy, but this time he did not have time to attach the blue defense to the other foot, even because all the blue defense was attached to the previous fighting foot. On the foot's defense was insufficient, resulting in signs of foot rupture. Fortunately, he took the initiative to retreat and did not let this embarrassing situation occur. Haha, it will break with one blow. Your feet are really not strong enough. If your feet are broken, don't cry to Her Majesty the Queen. Beeman laughed, and then stepped forward again. Haha, Senior Beeman is joking. I, Jia Yan, am not that kind of person, but I am a senior. If you lose to a strong person who is one level lower than you, don't make excuses in the future. For example, you were a little tired just after you returned. Kind. Jia Yan retorted, and what he said was very accurate. He had already thought about whether this middle-level senior creature in the galaxy would say that if he lost, he would say that he lost because he had just returned from a long distance and was very tired. I wouldn't say that. I was tired along the way, but after I returned to the Zerg territory, my speed was not slow, and I recovered everything I needed to. The other party was actually quite generous and said that his condition was okay. But this also shows that he has never thought about the possibility that he will lose. After all, until now, he has not seen that Jia Yan can win against his strength. Of course, the creature in front of me is indeed powerful. But as a top fighter, he also has great vision. After fighting for a while, he discovered some of Jia Yan's fighting talents. But after that, I just laughed out loud. Because of these talents, there is no link, and no dangerous combat routines have been developed. Isn't the subspace talent great? It's really powerful, you can even dodge his attacks. Isn't his azure blue defense powerful? He is indeed powerful. Even if he presses forward with all his strength, he can face him head-on. As well as several other fighting methods, they were all quite refreshing to him. However, there are so many weird fighting methods and so many fighting talents with potential for development, but Jia Yan has not found a way to integrate them. It doesn't even have much effect. This mid-level creature from the galaxy, I don't know how much energy Jia Yan has spent on these little tricks. He feels that if Jia Yan's talent is not good, it is estimated that the time it takes to do these things can make his progress has been slowed down by more than twice. This is why the opponent wanted to laugh a little after seeing so many talents and fighting methods of Jia Yan. In an instant, the two sides passed each other. Puff. Jia Yan retreated into subspace. But the entire subspace suddenly tightened. He could hardly move an inch in the subspace. The opponent used brainwave power. Even if it did not cause the rupture of the subspace, it still made the distortion in the subspace become substantial. If Jia Yan did not escape from it, he would definitely have to do so. Being bombarded by his brainwave power. In that case, it is better to escape from the subspace. Buzz. Jia Yan reluctantly managed to fly out from the subspace. But what greeted him was a fist. This fist with extremely terrifying power had a tremendous momentum as soon as it arrived. Suddenly, it hit Jia Yan's body. Get out of my way. At this moment, an earth-shattering explosion sound appeared in everyone's ears. The attack that was just about to hit Jia Yan was directly blown aside by an explosion that came from nowhere and was detonated at close range in an instant. The speed and power of the entire attack were neutralized by the explosion. What? The expression of that mid-level galaxy creature suddenly changed. This move was something Jia Yan had never exposed before. In other words, Jia Yan has always had a backup plan until now. And this backhand was really terrifying, even his attack was deflected, and it was very clever, without hurting Jia Yan himself. Jia Yan took advantage of the power of the explosion and retreated suddenly. There was nothing strange about him. This explosion was not caused by another meteorite explosion used by Jia Yan. Didn't you see it? His foot that was almost broken before was actually missing a little bit. Jia Yan took the initiative to tear off a section of his foot and then exploded it. So the power of the explosion was triggered by the positive and negative force of his feet, and the explosion was even more hardy, completely neutralizing the attack of a majestic mid-level galaxy creature. After a moment of shock, the other party suddenly noticed something strange about Jia Yan. Ha ha ha, what's going on? Jia Yan, did you actually use your own body as an explosive? Although the explosion was shocking, the price you paid was your own body parts. A competition, I don't want to cause you to become disabled, so do you think you should admit defeat? At this time, the 10 moves have long passed. Facing the other party's question, Jia Yan smiled slightly. Thank you for your concern, Senior Beeman. If you are worried about my body, there is no need to worry about it, because my body has been undergoing similar battle training. Now that I am not disabled, I will naturally have my own health. Repair method. But you, Senior, can still use my explosive method forever. Do you think you still have a chance? Jia Yan said this with a smile. And this sentence made Bai Mangdu slightly shocked. To be honest, even he felt a little bit in crisis after the explosion. Although he didn't believe it, Jia Yan said that he would have no sequelae at all, but at least Jia Yan could use similar explosions again. It was absolute. If he could use it many times, he would doubt it. Even if he was not hit by the bomb, it would be difficult for him to defeat Jia Yan in one go, and he might even be disgraced and lose face. That's right, he hadn't thought about the possibility that he would lose. Because the gap in strength is still huge. However, he didn't think that he could defeat Jia Yan with such an explosive method and a fighting method that didn't seem to damage his own energy. Well, Jia Yan, how about we just call it a draw? Beeman looked unwilling and then said. Ha ha ha, okay, Senior Beeman, we can't be acquainted without fighting. If it's a tie, it's a tie, and I will return this planet to you. After all, I was wrong first. Jia Yan was actually easy to talk to, so he laughed and agreed. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1887. In fact, Jia Yan previously thought about using explosive means directly, or even a few killing methods that he had thought of, to defeat this Beeman and then establish his power. But after thinking about it while fighting later, he felt that that wouldn't work. Defeating a galaxy intermediate is quite awe-inspiring here, but Behemoth is only one of the weaker galaxy intermediates here. Defeating him is like opening a Pandora's box. Other galaxy intermediates, what if you come to challenge? At least Jia Yan has not been arrogant at all until now, thinking that he will definitely be able to defeat other mid-level galactic players. Self-knowledge is important. Therefore, Jia Yan feels that the best result is a battle in which both sides can save some face. That's a tie. As for the planet, as mentioned before, there are many planets around it that are inferior to that planet. Why should he resent people because of this? He wants to continue to get guidance from the Zerg Queen here. The road must be viewed in the long term, rather than the momentary pleasure of victory, which will make the road narrower and narrower. If it were Jia Yan before, he would probably be thinking about victory passionately, but now he is thinking more. The Zerg Queen, who used her brainwave power to observe this scene, was also slightly startled. She had previously thought that Jia Yan could only fight this behemoth 10 times, that is, he could only block 10 punches. What she didn't expect was that not only did Jia Yan block 10 moves, she didn't even lose in the end. Instead, she tied with a mid-level galaxy being that she had pointed out for a long time. This would be spiritual. Could it be that this guy has really improved so much? And what's more, it's just a month of intermittent guidance, isn't it? The Zerg Queen's eyes lit up slightly in her palace. Not bad, I feel like he really has some potential. She has been training other strong people, just because she wants to have someone trustworthy and powerful to work with when she reaches the center of the galaxy. Among so many strong people, she really didn't find a few characters worthy of her expectations, and even the black sheep were far behind. But now, he discovered Jia Yan. Although Jia Yan's current strength is still very weak, if he can maintain such combat effectiveness and progress speed, we can look forward to it. I just want a good territory lord to work with me. I have offended all the territory lords around this star field, and ordinary territory lords don't know if they will have a grudge against me. Finally, I appear anything against the purpose will definitely lead to death in the center of the galaxy. So I will train these strong men myself. Their strength is above the galaxy level. There is still a certain chance that a territory lord level will appear in the future. Apart from anything else, as for the black sheep next to me, he has a certain chance of reaching the domain lord level. Unfortunately, I don't know how long it will be before he reaches the domain lord level. What's more, even if he reaches it, among the domain lords, he should be the domain lord. The weaker one in the lord is still far different from my strength. The Zerg Queen had previously set her sights on Jia Yan, only thinking that he did have a certain chance of surpassing Black Sheep, but that was just an idea of what could be made, and she didn't have much real expectations. But it's different now. Jia Yanzhen has made so much progress in just 1 month, even defeating an intergalactic being she taught. This made her expect more. Of course, it would not be easy for her to have higher expectations for Jia Yan than Black Sheep. After all, he is already a peak mid-level creature in the galaxy in the later stage. It only takes a moment to reach the domain master. Even if Jia Yan has talent, he can't. His strength is still at the elementary level. If he reaches the intermediate level, he can look forward to it again. Even if he cannot reach the domain master for a while, the intermediate level Jia Yan's combat ability is estimated to be worthy of expectations, and it is not without effect. So the Zerg Queen is a bit of a pity. It would have been better if it had been released years earlier. Of course, it's not too late now. Her expected departure time is 1 year later. If Jia Yan can advance to the peak of the elementary level and reach the central area of the galaxy in this year, it will give him a certain degree of fortune. It is not impossible to reach the middle level of the galaxy before a battle breaks out. She never thought that Jia Yan could be promoted to the middle level of galaxy within a year, because even though Jia Yan's current strength has reached the high level of the primary level of galaxy, it is still not the peak. Without accumulation, it would be difficult to hit the middle level of galaxy. Unless he really has the Queen's own talent, there is only a slight possibility. After all, the Zerg Queen was promoted so quickly back then. But if you want to reach the talent of the Zerg Queen, it is not something that can be achieved by ordinary people. As the Zerg Queen herself, she deeply understands that her own talent is much higher than that of ordinary creatures, so she will not expect it casually. When you meet other creatures, you can reach your own level. Although it is difficult to say that Jia Yan can reach my level, his talent is not bad and cannot be ignored. Then I will give him more resources and attention to see how far he can reach. 1 year time, haha, if you perform well, maybe I can look forward to something in the future. The Zerg Queen actually didn't pay much attention to Jia Yan's sudden rise. This is really the case. After all, I have been working here to teach talented galactic-level experts for many years. During this period, I have seen many talented people. None of these existences have finally reached the level of the Zerg Queen. Level of expectation. Therefore, she only has a little expectation for Jia Yan, not to mention that her schedule is 1 year. By then, Even if Jia Yan has her talent, she will not be able to reach the middle level of the galaxy, so the effect will not be too great. She was thinking about herself. On the other side, Jia Yan and Beeman, who had just finished their battle, magically became peaceful at this moment. Ha ha ha, we don't know each other without fighting. Brother Jia Yan, you have to be considerate of me. As soon as I returned to the Zerg territory, I heard that the planet where I usually live has been occupied by others. In fact, I didn't even think about it. If I had thought that it would be natural for others to come and stay temporarily, if I had already thought that it would not cause any conflict with you. In the future, we can live together and be neighbors. Such a big planet will not be enough. Let's live together. Beeman is also considered a smart and strong man. He fought to a draw with Jia Yan, and instantly understood that Jia Yan was definitely a talented elementary level being in the galaxy that the Queen of the Zerg would value. In the future, he might even reach the middle level galaxy with a strength level similar to his own. It would definitely be unwise to have a quarrel with such a powerful man, so now, he is thinking of ways to compromise with Jia Yan. Jia Yan is not someone who only knows how to fight. Senior Beeman, thank you for your invitation. We can treat each other as soldiers first and then as gifts. However, I think it is not a problem for two people to live together. After all, we are all at the galaxy level. It is too embarrassing to live on the same planet. For cultivators, energy will also affect each other, so let's just find a planet to live in. I will sort out all my arrangements later and you can live there. I won't disturb you again in the future. Jia Yan was also polite. After all, the battle is over now and it's time for the big guys to sell out. They can't really become enemies. The two of them were chatting and laughing, but a group of elementary creatures from the galaxy on the other side were a little at a loss. Those guys, little friend Jia Yan, they gathered around in outer space just now, and they seem to want to challenge you. I don't know what you are celebrating. Anyway, if we really want to fight, I will prevent them from attacking in groups. Yes, but we are all here to learn from Her Majesty the Queen's strength and combat experience, so if you want to give me face, don't fight. Behemoth was not the one who added insult to injury, but he actually begged Jia Yan for the sake of those first-level galaxy powerhouses. Are they going to challenge me? Jia Yan was startled, then laughed. Looking at this group of creatures, he didn't know that they were the primary beings of the galaxy who were jealous and hateful. In fact, he also understands that the Zerg Queen only has so much time, and there are not as many primary-level creatures in the galaxy as those in the intermediate galaxy. Therefore, after Jia Yan himself occupied a large amount of the Zerg Queen's time, it is difficult for the first-level powerhouses in the galaxy to get guidance from the Queen. They say it is jealousy, but it is better to say that interests still dominate their psychology. Guys, are you ready to challenge me? Jia Yan was not polite to them either. To be polite to a mid-level galaxy creature is because the opponent is very strong. Jia Yan has just understood that it is impossible for him to defeat this behemoth without using more means. Even the opponent's the trump card hasn't been used yet, so whether he can really be defeated by then is a matter of speculation. As for a group of primary creatures from the galaxy who want to challenge him, even judging from Beeman's attitude, he will take action against himself. It should be these primary creatures from the galaxy who are behind it. How could Jia Yan look so good like this? No, we don't want to challenge Your Excellency Jia Yan. Your Excellency is so powerful that we consider ourselves inferior. The strong man who was the leading creature among a group of primary creatures in the galaxy couldn't help but smile awkwardly. Several others also laughed. Yes, we just want to see if Mr. Jia Yan is out of seclusion. Your Excellency Jia Yan's strength is astonishing. Let alone one-on-one, even if we come in a group, it's hard to deal with you, Your Excellency Jia Yan, so we won't challenge you, haha. Several elementary creatures from the galaxy all had flattering apologetic smiles on their faces. They are not stupid, they can tie with Beeman, even if neither side uses their trump card in the end, their strength is really much stronger than theirs. Of course, if Jia Yan really followed the last elementary creature from the galaxy and said he was willing to join forces with them to fight, then they would not miss this opportunity. Fighting one by one, even if they use will fighting, they may not be able to win. But when they swarmed up, the elementary creatures of the galaxy present didn't believe that there were so many of them that they couldn't defeat Jia Yan. After all, they are also geniuses in the elementary level of the galaxy. How can they lose if they fight one by one in a group? Of course Jia Yan also knew this, so he didn't jump into the trap of the last elementary creature from the galaxy. It turns out that you all care about me. Thank you. I am out of quarantine today. It is an honor for me, Jia Yan, for everyone to come and visit me. If you don't mind, come and sit in my planet room so that everyone can discuss it. Regarding the fighting, after today, I will demolish this house, and even if I want to come and sit here in the future, I will have no chance. The reason why Jia Yan said this has actually been revealed. If someone comes to be a guest, they are friends. If they don't come, just like that house, they will not be considered enemies in the future, and they will definitely be casual acquaintances. Okay, since His Excellency Jia Yan is so enthusiastic, then we will be disrespectful. Haha, Your Excellency Jia Yan is indeed a great person. Well, we have understood your magnanimity. We might as well come to your place as guests. Oh, I still have something to do at home, so I won't go. Among the group of primary creatures from the galaxy, some readily agreed to sit in Jia Yan's house, while others left with disdain on their faces. These people have been automatically classified by Jia Yan as not being friends in the future. Of course, even if they come, whether they are friends or not depends on their future performance. The majority of them are probably those who are acting. As for Behemoth, the planet is his training star, so naturally there is no reason not to let him come. Jia Yan, you have quite good mental strength. You were able to build a house like this. It's just that your mental strength is sufficient, but your precision is a bit lacking. Beeman and a group of elementary creatures from the galaxy fell into Jia Yan's huge simple house from space. After seeing the house, Beeman instantly saw the brainwave power that Jia Yan used when building the house. Has its own problems. Haha, Senior is laughing, the sophistication of my brainwave power really needs to be polished. Unfortunately, I still have only a little understanding of the brainwave power. I hope Her Majesty the Queen can answer more questions for me in the future. Confused. Jia Yan sighed. His brainwave power, or mental power, is indeed far behind other strong people. After all, his ability improved too quickly, and without the guidance of experts, it became rough at all times. In fact, it's not just the brainwave power. In addition to this, there are also his fighting skills and so on. They all feel a bit rough or quick. These feelings of quick success have improved a lot after coming out of seclusion this time. After all, the Queen's guidance he received last month made Jia Yan make rapid progress. It's just that if you want to reach a better level, you still need the guidance of a famous expert, and naturally there is no one who will be a better candidate for the Zerg Queen at the moment. Even Behemoth is not very qualified to give advice. Although he is definitely better than Jia Yan in terms of basic knowledge, in fact, his combat effectiveness is only about the same as Jia Yan. A lot, but definitely not as comprehensive as the Zerg Queen. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1888. To be honest, Jia Yan's words were a bit sighing, because he knew that the Zerg Queen would not have that much time to give him guidance. But what he didn't expect was that as soon as he said these words, a pleasant and faint female voice sounded in the starry sky. Jia Yan, if you want to give me some advice, well, starting tomorrow, you can come to me and I will give you some advice. You won't have to look for any other planets in the future. Come and live in my palace, and I will choose a first-class life for you. Land. Well. Jia Yan paused when he heard this voice. Then, he didn't even react, but Behemoth on the side reacted first. Jia Yan, this is the place where class of people practice and live. It's the best place in the palace. I didn't expect you to lose my planet but get that place as your living place. I want to trade it with you. Jia Yan finally came back to his senses at this time. He looked at Behemoth and several elementary beings of the galaxy on the side, looking at him with envy. He could only smile and volley into the sky, looking at the location of the Zerg Queen in the distance. Thank you, and chatted with a few more people. A first-class training and living place. It sounds awesome. Jia Yan also didn't understand what the first grade meant. But every time he entered the palace, several powerful men were always deep in the palace. Even if Jia Yan didn't look, he knew that the place where they lived must be much better than the conditions for living and cultivating in the corners of ordinary palaces. The most important point is probably not the issue of energy, but the fact that the Zerg Queen is by his side. You know, all the strong men came to this Zerg territory not just for the mere energy. The energy in this area is said to be very powerful, but if you really want to find it, there are many places with extremely strong energy in the universe. For example, if you deliberately develop some stellar power collection technology next to the star, it will definitely not be much worse than here. For the galaxy-level beings who come here, there are countless stars in each territory, and they can get them wherever they want. The most important reason why they come here is to communicate and get guidance from domain lord-level beings. So Jia Yan was able to enter the so-called first-class place of the palace to practice, which was close to the Queen of the Zerg, and everyone was envious and jealous. Haha, thank you Senior Beeman for your kindness. I will no longer live on your planet. The property will be returned to its original owner. I will go to the palace. Jia Yan smiled slightly and didn't mention a word about Beeman's statement. Asking him to switch planets to first-class places was something only a fool would do. Senior, I'll leave first. In addition, if you guys really want to challenge me, I'll be here for you at any time. After Jia Yan said this, he looked at Behemoth and several junior galactic experts who did not dare to look at him. He laughed, then used his brainwave power to fly forward quickly. Behemoth didn't really want Jia Yan to exchange with him, but he was a little sad to see Jia Yan really leave. Such a talented elementary being in the galaxy, but I actually had a fight with him as soon as they met. I don't know if I can repair the relationship in the future. In the end, it's you bastards who made me offend. Beeman looked at the few people who didn't even dare to leave, and suddenly looked ugly. Come on, I heard that your cultivation has improved a lot recently. Let me see how strong you are. Come one by one. Beeman also knew that although the people in front of him were weaker than him, they were still at the galaxy level after all, and they were all more talented than him. He couldn't bear it if they came together, so he asked them to come up one by one. Well, several people sighed. Although they had the right to refuse, after all, they had tricked the other party once, and they had to let the other party get rid of their anger. So, on this day, this group of elementary creatures from the galaxy were taught a lesson by Beeman, a middle-level strongman from the galaxy who had just returned. They were beaten until the sky was dark and the earth was dark, and they screamed repeatedly. And along with the news of Beeman's return, news also came out that made others surprised or even envious. That is, Jia Yan, who had just been called to the Zerg territory by the Zerg Queen, and who had only existed for a month, was actually treated like a first-class training palace. You know, everyone was staring at that place and thinking about grabbing it, but it was actually snatched away by a newcomer like Jia Yan. A group of primary and mid-level creatures in the galaxy are extremely jealous. If this training ground can be robbed, they will take action. It's a pity that this kind of place represents the queen's approval and a certain manifestation of the opponent's talent. If their talent is not good and they have not been recognized by the queen, even if they defeat Jia Yan, they will never be able to get in. What's more, everyone has heard about the result of the previous battle between Beeman and Jia Yan. A low-level Xi creature actually ended a draw with Beeman. Beeman still has improved his strength in the outside world, and he is almost equal to Jia Yan, which is a bit powerful. Beeman's strength is not considered strong among the mid-level galaxies here, nor is it the weakest, not to mention that it is after his strength has been improved. This shows that Jia Yan's strength is definitely beyond everyone's imagination, and it is not without reason that the queen would agree with him. So who dares to really challenge this alien primary being from the galaxy? There is nothing exciting about winning at the intermediate level, and there are probably not many beginners who can fight against him. This guy actually has such terrifying strength and talent. His actions a month ago didn't seem to be that powerful. A month of guidance has brought him to where he is today. In the palace, the creature who was only one step away from the domain lord, that is, the black sheep whose whole body was pitch black, felt silently as he came to Jia Yan in the palace. Black Sheep has always maintained a distrustful and unfriendly attitude towards this newcomer. In fact, Black Sheep is not worried that Jia Yan will take his position, because the strength gap between the two sides is really too big. Even if Jia Yan has the talent of the queen, he will need at least a lot of skills to reach his level. The reason why he is a little hostile towards Jia Yan is actually very simple. That is, he once had a compatriot of the same race who was an elementary creature from the galaxy. He also wanted to come to the star field to be with his brother and accept the care of the Zerg Queen. Originally, although the opponent's strength and talent were poor, he was still at the elementary level of the galaxy. The Queen of the Zerg had an idea after hearing Black Sheep's words. It's a pity that this spot is actually occupied by another newcomer. That newcomer is none other than Jia Yan. This is the origin of this black sheep creature's hostility towards Jia Yan. He actually sneaked into the core first-class palace, but don't worry, this guy's talent and strength should be relatively poor here. I will definitely catch some sneaky guy by then, even if he is expelled. Let's go, my brother of the same race can't come, at least he can give me some relief. This black sheep still looked down upon Jia Yan very much, because he knew Jia Yan's birth and a lot of information about Jia Yan's past, so he thought that this outsider was just a countryman. This is the view of this mid-level galaxy creature, who is about to step into the domain lord level. He knew that his promotion to the territory lord level seemed to be just a little bit short, but in fact, after talking to the Zerg Queen many times, he knew that his promotion was not that simple. After all, his talent was not far behind that of the Zerg Queen. Even though he is much older than the Zerg Queen, his background is still insufficient. Even if he is promoted, he will definitely be the weaker one among the territory lords. So recently, he has been making small moves around the Zerg Queen. First of all, it must be to improve his own strength. Secondly, he is trying his best to make his power position second only to the Zerg Queen, and even has his hands ascended to the Zerg Queen. Of course, it is absolutely impossible to go to war or have any conflicts with the Queen. After all, he wants to rely on the Queen, not to be her enemy. And because of this, although the Queen knows what he is doing, she didn't mean to stop her. Quan just wanted him to solve her problems and let her have more time to practice. Yes, the Queen of the Zerg doesn't look like she has been guarding the starry sky, but in fact, she still spends most of her day practicing. A talented and strong person must not only have talent, but also must have a certain amount of perseverance, otherwise how can he be promoted quickly? The Zerg Queen happens to have both, top-notch talent, and absolutely no weak perseverance. The Queen of Zerg is indeed a very hard-working person. Jia Yan was in the palace, silently feeling the benefits of this palace. At the same time, One of the benefits is that he can feel his cultivation in the Edisha just like the members of Jia Yan's team back then. He is now feeling the training of the Zerg Queen. For a territory lord level being, there is no danger if a group of junior and middle level galaxy creatures are practicing beside him, as long as they are not too powerful. Therefore, the Queen of the Zerg can practice in the palace with peace of mind, and her insights during practice and the overflow of energy can help the surrounding junior and intermediate level creatures in the galaxy to get a lot of help. You know, this is the black sheep. Such creatures have always pursued the real reason for cultivating beside the Zerg Queen. At this time, Jia Yan finally realized the meaning of his first-class place. Energy is one thing, but the proximity to the Queen at this time is another huge benefit. Even during this practice, I can understand the Queen's understanding of certain powers of the universe, etc. Although I will not follow her path, I will still benefit greatly by drawing parallels. Jia Yan realized the Zerg Queen's understanding of the universe and the profound way to increase her power during her training. Although it is impossible to show the subtlety of this directly to everyone, it is still a guiding direction after all, and it is also a great help to many junior and middle level creatures in the galaxy. At least for Jia Yan, who has almost never done this and has never seen other strong people, it is almost a great help to understand how to practice. This day was his first day in the palace, and he realized the preciousness of this first-class place. And next, he came to understand more and more the second reason why first-class places are precious. Jia Yan, do you think there is anything wrong with the question I just raised? After practicing, the Zerg Queen talked with Black Sheep and two other mid-level galactic creatures, but her words did not isolate the strong men from the first-level land, so Jia Yan and the others also heard her. Hearing the Zerg Queen's question, Jia Yan was startled, then smiled bitterly. I don't think there's anything wrong, or I should say, I don't understand most of the issues Her Majesty the Queen and you are talking about. When he said this, there were bursts of chuckles from around him. Of course, some of the chuckles were disdainful, some were just joking, and some even had friendly intentions. After all, with Jia Yan's arrival, everyone knows that he is definitely qualified to come here. At least Her Majesty the Queen agrees, otherwise he would not be able to come. So everyone knows that he doesn't understand anything. He behaves like this now just because he was born in a bad way. Haha, don't laugh at him. It's just because of his birth. If he was born like you, he would probably have a place for him in the galaxy intermediate level or even the territory lord level. The Zerg Queen gently shook her head at the laughing creatures around her, and then expressed her thoughts on Jia Yan. Well, Black Sheep was the first to be startled. Because the Zerg Queen actually said the word territory lord. You must know that the Queen of the Zerg is not one to brag. In other words, she thinks that if Jia Yan was really born well, he might be the domain lord now. Even if this is unlikely, at least she expressed that it is possible. In other words, is it actually possible for Jia Yan to become a territory lord in 100 years? He is not yet 100 years old now. Doesn't that mean it's no different from what the Queen used to do? Black Sheep said that he was a little tired. How could it be possible? He, Black Sheep, can be considered a genius, but today he has reached the domain lord level and is close to 1,000 years old, which is not too slow anymore. But if Jia Yan was really 100-year-old domain lord, he would be killed by a headlong collision. Fortunately, the Queen is just talking. This Jia Yan is still a primary creature of the galaxy. Compared with the domain lord, he is far behind. Black Sheep regarded this more as a joke that the Queen would occasionally have. After all, the Queen is still young, and she still makes jokes occasionally, and even when she is young, she will show the temper that only a little girl has. The Queen is very pleased. Jia Yan said this quickly. Because he saw, not just the Black Sheep, but also a hint of astonishment in the eyes of the first-class beings here. He didn't want to become the object of everyone's envy. And the Queen is a bit too much. She was promoted to Territory Lord in 100 years. She definitely thinks too highly of Jia Yan. As a person with the experience of the previous life from the beginning, Jia Yan's life, in fact, from the beginning it's a bit of a cheat, but just like that, you've still progressed to the first level of the galaxy. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1889. He feels that even if he is given a relatively good talent, being able to reach the middle level of the galaxy before he is 100 years old in this life is still a good talent. In other words, there is no difference from his current self, so the Queen is definitely flattering him. Jia Yan, you don't have to be too modest. If I say you can, you can. The Queen smiled slightly, and then she no longer struggled with Jia Yan, but explained the issue of cultivation and understanding just now. In fact, Jia Yan only understood half of it, or he praised half of it, not even half, but only a small half. But this little half was of great help to Jia Yan. He felt that he had learned something new. What made him even more delighted was that after the training meeting was over, the Zerg Queen stopped him. Jia Yan, wait a minute. Your foundation is really bad. Stay here and I'll teach you for a while. Okay. Jia Yan was almost extremely happy, knowing that the teachings of the Zerg Queen were more useful than any other strong person's teachings. And this caused a large number of other galaxy-level creatures to look at him strangely. The Zerg Queen often retains people, just like a teacher, but she actually stays to teach such a scumbag, and teaches the basics in person. This lets others know that the Zerg Queen values Jia Yan very much. After all, they can also teach the basics. There were a few people who came from the rural starfield before, and they were actually taught by them in the beginning. Although they were not as good as the Zerg Queen, and even in some places, due to strength issues, they were not thorough enough, but the gap is not too big. After all, they are all galaxy-level beings. But for Jia Yan, the Queen of the Zerg actually taught him personally, which was a bit unprecedented. In this way, Jia Yan lived a life that other strong people would only live when they were relatively weak. He is improving his foundation and building his own strong system. Although the Yin and Yang Dao has been around for a long time, and even this Yin and Yang Dao is quite perfect. After the Zerg Queen understood it a little bit, she also tried her best to praise the Yin and Yang Dao created by Jia Yan, but she still never thought about it. Learning and the like, because learning Yin and Yang Dao requires changing one's own cultivation methods from the root, which is absolutely impossible for the Zerg Queen. So Jia Yan has been asking for things from the other party, which makes Jia Yan, like other strong men, a little grateful to the Zerg Queen. This is actually the reason why the Zerg Queen's reputation is gradually increasing. She had been growing up in adversity before, and the whole process was not at all calmer than Jia Yan's. She fought all the way because her temper was really bad in the past. Initially, she fought with the strong because of the Starfield War between the two sides. Later, because other star regions saw her growth and wanted to kill her at a low level, she continued to fight. In the end, it was her most famous battle, and the battle that determined her status in the starry sky, and that was the battle with a group of territory lords. The Queen of the Zerg at that time had just barely stepped onto the territory lord level, but she faced a group of territory lords in an instant. The situation was almost exactly the same as that of TNG and the senior evolved beasts of many previous generations. The only difference is that the Zerg Queen is different from the evolved beasts. They died at the domain lord level. No matter how many domain lords are killed together, no matter how big a movement is caused, even if the genius battlefield and Orion arm are as big as changes are all caused by them, but death is death. The Queen of the Zerg really killed the domain lord who besieged her. This shows that her talent is so amazing that no evolution beast can match it. Even the current Jia Yan is only theoretically capable. He feels that when he reaches the Domain Lord level, he has a chance to get close to the Queen of the Zerg. As for surpassing her, at least for now, Jia Yan still doesn't dare to think about it that much. Okay, do you understand? Yes, I understand. One day, Jia Yan didn't even remember how many days he had been in the Zerg territory. The Queen of the Zerg stayed Jia Yan down, and after explaining the same knowledge to him, she asked Jia Yan the above questions. After Jia Yan agreed, the Zerg Queen was silent for a while and finally spoke calmly. Jia Yan, to be honest, your talent surprises me a bit. If I had more time to wait, I would wait for you to be promoted to the Galaxy Intermediate level, or even the Territory Lord level, but now, I can't wait. After going down, your strength has reached the peak of the primary level of the galaxy. You can try to see if you can reach the intermediate level of the galaxy in half a month. If you can, of course it is a good thing, but if it is not possible, there is no need to force it. Half a month in a few months, I will leave. Departure. Jia Yan was shocked when he heard this. My lady queen, are you ready to leave? Jia Yan became solemn. When he said departure, he naturally meant heading to the central region of the Milky Way. The Queen of the Zerg called Jia Yan here, and even recruited so many galaxy-level beings to her star field, just to go to the center of the galaxy. In fact, Jia Yan is no exception. When he came to the Zerg domain, in addition to preparing to receive instructions from the Zerg Queen, he also had a reason, which was to go to the center of the galaxy. Then he was there, looking for opportunities to be promoted, and to collide with more powerful people, so that he could even improve his strength. The middle level of the galaxy, he was already close in front of him, but after that, there were also territory lords, and even the lower level of the galaxy, the top of the galaxy. Finally, if there was a chance, he would also like to have a glimpse of something that is very likely to no longer exist, above the galaxy level. If he wants to realize this wish, he must definitely go to the bustling central area of the galaxy like the Zerg Queen. That is the place where he can hope to be promoted to a stronger level. After all, in the center of the Milky Way, if you think about it, you will know how many strong people will be attracted by the powerful energy and materials there. The more strong people there are, the greater the chance of promotion. However, Jia Yan always thought that when he arrived in the Zerg territory, he would not leave so soon, but he never expected that he would leave less than a year after arriving. Okay, I will try to attack the middle level of the galaxy in the near future. If it doesn't work, it will be possible after a while. After all, when we reach the center of the galaxy, we will definitely enter a state of war. That's true. The center of the Milky Way is prosperous, but it's not that chaotic. Of course, it's much more chaotic than the outside world. This is an indisputable fact. The Zerg Queen smiled slightly. After Jia Yan exited the main hall where the Queen was, his expression became completely solemn. He knew that his strength was still a bit weak. If you give him a certain amount of time, he will be very sure of self-preservation after he is promoted to the middle level of galaxy. After all, he now has the strength to kill enemies at higher levels. Although after reaching the middle level of the galaxy, it is almost impossible for him to continue to kill enemies at higher levels and kill the Domain Lord, but he at least knows that his strength has reached. He would not be too afraid of most ordinary galaxy intermediate level beings. When the galaxy intermediate level reached its peak, he would not have no chance to stroke the tiger's beard of the Territory Lord. But now, he has only reached the peak of the primary level of the galaxy and has to set off for the center of the galaxy. I have to work really hard. In this year, I was actually close to being promoted to the mid-level galaxy. It was a little slower than I thought. Of course, if I switch to the Orion arm, I at least have to use it. Took 10 years to reach the current level. In this year, Jia Yan's progress can be said to be rapid and rapid. If he was not in the Zerg domain, had not received the guidance of the Zerg Queen, and had remained in the Orion arm. Although Jia Yan might have made great progress, he would definitely not have been able to practice so quickly without the foundation and correct training methods. So he was thinking that he was definitely on the right path. Following the Zerg Queen to the center of the galaxy is definitely a good choice. The only problem is that he now has to figure out how to quickly increase his strength and reach the middle level of the galaxy. Half a month, there is a high probability that it will not be achieved. Jia Yan smiled bitterly. What he said just now sounded nice, and he said he wanted to give it a try, but in fact, looking back on his own strength, he just happened to be stuck at a pass. In the past half-month, he originally planned to figure out a certain confusion. But now that he wants to challenge his strength, this confusion can only be put aside. But even if he put it aside, within half a month, he felt that it was difficult for his strength to be promoted to the middle level of the galaxy. The biggest problem is actually my strength. It is the yin and yang dao, which needs to take into account two power attributes. If there is only one strength attribute, then I can practice quickly and break through to the middle level of the galaxy within half a month. It is not, it's impossible. Jia Yan returned to his first-class training room. This training room is actually very close to the main hall of the palace where the queen is. The aura that the Zerg Queen usually exudes when she practices can be clearly felt in his room. But in the past 2 days, he had no intention of feeling it carefully at all. All his thoughts were focused on how to get promoted. The Zerg Queen's nervousness and attempts towards Jia Yan, because of her close proximity and the fact that she was a territory lord level being, naturally saw it completely. Haha, this half-month will be regarded as my final test. If you can reach the middle level of the galaxy, then even if you pass my test, you will be my most anticipated person in the center of the galaxy in the future. Genius, even if you can't reach the territory lord now, I will ensure that you get to the territory lord. The queen of the Zerg also has a pair of compound eyes that look like insects. At this time, the compound eyes are faint and emit an almost weird and terrifying light. That's right, she is now thinking about treating Jia Yan as her apprentice, and the real one. But her biggest test now is to let Jia Yan break through to the middle level of the galaxy she is looking forward to within half a month. If he can reach it quickly, then she will not hesitate anymore and let Jia Yan get rid of just herself. As a collaborator, she becomes her apprentice. Although she didn't know what Jia Yan would think, she believed that this being from a remote small star field would not refuse. After all, the queen of the Zerg is not a weakling. She is considered extremely powerful among the territory lords. She is even certain of being promoted to the high level of the galaxy, or even to the top of the galaxy. Even the ethereal realm above the galaxy, she had the idea to try. Therefore, she thought that Jia Yan would not refuse to have such a being as her master. But in fact, the Zerg Queen probably didn't know much about Jia Yan this year. Jia Yan is not the kind of person who wants to be his master. If the Zerg Queen appeared when he was very weak, there might be a certain possibility. Now he is at the galaxy level, and the intermediate galaxy level is still there. Now, the territory lord has not been around for a long time, so how can he recognize someone as his master? Therefore, Jia Yan would not agree if he really proposed it. And, in fact, the Zerg Queen was disappointed to find that Jia Yan did not give her the opportunity to exit. Jia Yan is indeed practicing quickly and absolutely hard. In the first half-month, his strength improved rapidly because the Zerg Queen brought a lot of resources from all directions. This is, the star core of a small star? It's amazing, it even has this, I suck it. Jia Yan found that there was a hot rock-like object nearly 5 kilometers in size in front of him. Knowing what it was, he quickly inserted a needle into it and started sucking it directly. To be honest, the most natural and useful things among alien bodies must now be found inside the planet. They don't dare to go to the center of the star. Even if the domain lord enters the center of the star to look for something, he may die inside. So generally speaking, if you want supplies such as star cores, you usually go to ordinary asteroids or planets. Try to find. Star cores are interstellar creatures and are well known as the best treasures. Finding a piece of them is almost priceless. But in fact, because star cores exist in the center of stars, if they leave the interior of the planet, these star cores will soon disappear. It loses its unique heat and compression qualities, rendering it useless at all. Therefore, those who can really obtain star cores from Shiyuan are all experts or top-level resource searchers. Jia Yan now has such a star core, and it is the first time in a long time that he has seen this legendary best material. The mouth needle penetrated into the core of the star, and he only felt waves of shocking power entering his body naturally. So cool. Jia Yan groaned slightly. You know, the power of the star core is almost naturally formed, so there is nothing too violent. Jia Yan is originally an evolved beast, and his ability to absorb materials is extremely terrifying. Therefore, Jia Yan can absorb the star core into his body almost instantly, and then convert it into his own strength. Not bad, not bad. Although I can tell at a glance that this is the core of a small planet, to me, it is almost an excellent thing. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1890. Jia Yan knew that what he was holding in his arms was definitely the core of an asteroid, because large planetary cores are not so easy to obtain, not to mention that even if he succeeded, Jia Yan would probably not be able to digest it, so this one is just right now. Huh. Just after absorbing a certain amount of energy from the asteroid core, Jia Yan was suddenly startled. Because he felt that there was actually the power of yin and yang dao inside his body, and it was devouring these powers crazily. Moreover, the power of yin and yang dao is actually divided into two parts, one part, and it is absorbed evenly. This made Jia Yan slightly surprised. My body has actually absorbed the star core power like this. What does this mean? He pondered slightly. You know, the power of yin and yang dao is like an absolute specialty for him in the future. Other strong men all follow the system of the strong men of the universe, or in other words, the system of the great realm of gods. Or maybe there should be other strong people in the central region of the galaxy and other regions of the galaxy who follow other systems, but no matter what Jia Yan thinks, he doesn't think that anyone will follow the same yin and yang dao system as him. Because there are too many unique elements required to create the system. It is the evolution of beasts like Jia Yan, coupled with countless objective factors, and even the existence of the world deep in subspace, that led to the emergence of yin and yang dao. Therefore, he himself is looking forward to yin and yang dao very much, and he also knows that a large part of his strength in the future will fall on yin and yang dao. The yin and yang dao is actually divided into two aspects, sucking the star core. Jia Yan pondered. He didn't know whether this was good or bad, but things happened and he couldn't interrupt the practice of yin and yang. Looking back and thinking about it, he slowly understood why yin-yang dao suddenly absorbed energy from both sides. Just like my previous practice, yin-yang dao is always slower than normal practice, and consumes more energy. Now it actually begins to be absorbed in two aspects. This should be related to certain characteristics of the star core energy. For example, the star core power may also contain certain positive and negative forces. Jia Yan analyzed it and felt that his imagination was correct. The yin and yang dao continuously absorbs the power of the star core. Originally, if it was just one piece of power, Jia Yan would be able to progress very quickly, but now that it is divided into two pieces, Jia Yan's strength has slowed down. But the more this happened, the more his compound eyes shone brightly. Because during the absorption of yin and yang dao, he discovered that he might have obtained the power that is most suitable for yin and yang dao to absorb. Ha ha ha, I didn't have the conditions before, and I never thought about getting a star core to absorb it, because I didn't have the money. but now I am absorbing the star core for the first time, and I actually discovered that it meets my yin and yang dao needs. The power of yin and yang dao will only become chaotic when it absorbs other forces, and then slowly transforms into two forces within my own body. In this way, my yin and yang dao will not be pure enough. There are two powers of yin and yang. That is, both positive and negative forces have become very blurry, but the star core power absorbed this time was divided into two aspects for me to absorb from the beginning, so now when I start, the two aspects of yin and yang are clearly distinguishable. Yes, this makes the positive and negative forces I absorb even more powerful and terrifying. Jia Yan's eyes were full of surprise. But, to put it this way, the situation at hand is that if I don't use the star core to reach the middle level of the galaxy, then the Zerg Queen and others will have very little expectations of me. Should I stop my two in terms of absorption? Jia Yan has a way to solve the problem of absorption. As long as he deliberately changes the absorption method that is divided into two aspects into the chaotic absorption method that used to absorb power, this will make the power become integrated and push him like chaos. As the strength within his body progresses, he will enter the middle level of the galaxy. But in that case, progress is progress. If you try to use the star core to dissolve this chaotic power again in the future, and then rebuild it, you will die, and the effort required may be more than 10 times that of now. Of course, that would make the Zerg Queen and others optimistic about Jia Yan's talent. At least the Zerg Queen would place his status higher. After all, Jia Yan's current status is achieved by his own talent. So it doesn't mean that promotion is not a good choice. Maybe it's because the promotion is faster, and then the Zerg Queen and others can give themselves more star cores, so that the time for Jia Yan to reconvert will be greatly reduced. The time has come to face a choice. Jia Yan himself was in class of the palace, thinking carefully about it. Finally, he burst into laughter. Yes, I smiled a little relieved and a little bit self-deprecating. Jia Yan, how long have you been in this Zerg territory? Now, you have turned to relying on outsiders and help from outsiders. After I was promoted, did I get the attention of the Zerg Queen? This is nothing. Use it well. Compared to the Zerg Queen, my strength is indeed weak, but before this, didn't I rely on myself to get through it all the way in other places? Now that I have reached the peak of the primary level of the galaxy, I actually want to rely on outsiders. The longer you live, the less likely you will be able to recover. After Jia Yan laughed at himself, he suddenly made up his mind. That is, he must carry out his own breakthrough plan according to his own best cultivation method. No breakthrough. Instead, he chose to disappoint the Zerg Queen and the others. His status plummeted, and he still wanted to maintain the best promotion method now. Puff. Perhaps because the thoughts in his heart were clearer, Jia Yan's absorption speed became faster, and the power divided into two aspects became clearer. Jia Yan's absorption feeling completely burst out. Just when Jia Yan acted like this, the Zerg Queen, who was not far away from Jia Yan, suddenly opened her beautiful eyes. This giantess-like Zerg Queen looks a bit suspicious. What's going on? His absorption speed is actually so slow. It's even slower than I thought. Could it be that his talent isn't actually that good? After giving him the star core, he can practice so slowly. Did I overestimate him? At this moment, the Zerg Queen was a little worried whether her attention was in vain. After all, she is a territory lord level being, and it is absolutely impossible to pay such attention to an elementary creature in the galaxy without the slightest thought of receiving something in return. But now, when Jia Yan absorbed the best star core, it didn't have such a good effect, which made her a little disappointed. Every talented person has a limit to his talent. Even the strongest and most terrifying person in history will have his own limit. The limit of some existence is an invisible barrier. Before they reach that barrier, they often behave as if there is no limit and are extremely fast. but when it reaches the limit, it will become reduced to the average of the same level, or even worse than the same level. Jia Yan's performance made the Zerg Queen think of this. Could it be that Jia Yan's limit is at the elementary level of galaxy? Of course, there may be something wrong. The Queen of the Zerg doesn't think that the Evolution Beast clan is that bad. Even Jia Yan is the fastest promoting creature among the Evolution Beast clan. This is why she has some expectations for Jia Yan. One of the reasons. I had to wait until he was released and ask specifically. However, he was not promoted. This still disappointed me, so my attitude towards him in the future may not be so good. The Zerg Queen silently shook her head, thinking that no matter what the reason was, Jia Yan was destined to fail to reach the middle level of the galaxy this time. He just didn't reach it. It is true that she was disappointed. Even if she has not reached the middle level of the galaxy, the current Jia Yan's performance is still the most amazing among all the galaxy-level powerhouses here. Status fell. Boom 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 boom. There were constant explosions of energy in the palace where Jia Yan was. When he is cultivating, he seems to make a lot of noise. If other creatures who don't understand it look at it, they will think that he, a primary creature in the galaxy, causes the movement of mid-level creatures in the galaxy during his cultivation. They will definitely sneer and think that it's an empty waste of power, but it has no effect. There are actually similar creatures already thinking about it. This Jia Yan has obtained a star core, but he has not improved at all when he caused such a commotion. Yes, I estimate that he was going to have a breakthrough on the third or fourth day of smoking, but now it's been almost a week, and there is no breakthrough yet, or I should say, he is still a little bit close. We have just reached the primary peak of the galaxy. Ha ha ha, so I said, everyone thinks too highly of him. How could such a galaxy-level being from the countryside have that kind of talent? Although it is said that he is also a talent of a certain race, but of that race I've never heard of an evolved beast that looks quite powerful, but it turns out that it's nothing until now. Her Majesty the Queen thinks too highly of him. Now he has not made a breakthrough. It's a shame that Her Majesty the Queen asked us to come over and observe. A group of junior and middle-level creatures from the galaxy were all sneering. Most creatures still look down upon Jia Yan, not only because of his birth, but also because as soon as Jia Yan came, he occupied many galaxy-level resources, etc., which made them hate Jia Yan. The senses are extremely bad. Now everyone feels that Jia Yan has not made a breakthrough even though they are happy to hear it. Even in the next half-month, it should be impossible to break through. As expected, when time passed little by little, the power in the star core slowly turned into the energy in Jia Yan's body. Cuckoo. Jia Yan silently sucked the power of the star core, almost wanting to burp. The power of the star core was like a supreme delicacy. He had never eaten anything so delicious in his life. The energy was extremely impressive, and Jia Yan felt that he might not be able to do without star core in the future because he was already addicted. The pleasure of sucking it was great, but the increase in strength that the star core brought to him was a bit unacceptable to others. Puff. An inaudible soft voice sounded. Jia Yan's compound eyes flashed slightly. This was a slight sound of breakthrough, but it was not the breakthrough from the primary level of galaxy to the intermediate level of galaxy. Rather, from being close to the peak of the primary level, it is now considered a true breakthrough to the top of the primary level of the galaxy. At this moment, he has the possibility of breaking through to the middle level of the galaxy, but this possibility has now become extremely slim. Because the star core power at this moment has been exhausted, it is almost impossible to bring him any actual enhancement. So either Jia Yan can use his own power and other weaker energy objects to assist in the breakthrough, or he can wait for the next time there is a star core to make a perfect breakthrough. It's not impossible to use other forces to break through, but Jia Yan thinks it's better to wait. So he stopped his breakthrough. Goo. The last bite of star core power was absorbed into the body through Jia Yan's mouth parts. Then, he gave up the breakthrough, and his entire body strength suddenly retreated. At this moment, Jia Yan felt something different. Haha, although I have not made a breakthrough, in fact, the power absorption is absorption. I have already said that my power system is different from the system of the strong men in the universe. In other words, I use two yin and yang dao. The power is stored in a certain way. In fact, these powers are still in my body. Although the actual strength of the power is not that strong, my strength is still increasing. And it's increased a lot. Thinking of this, the sparkle in Jia Yanfu's eyes suddenly rose, and then subsided. Even if it increases, it is certainly not as exaggerated as the strength can be increased to the middle level of galaxy, causing the entire system to increase. But what Jia Yan can be sure of is that as long as he follows the right path, even if he is slower in the future, at every level he reaches, his strength will be much more terrifying than those at the same level, not just a little bit. So I want to keep a low profile. I will not explain this matter to the Queen. She seems to be very disappointed with me, so let's continue to be disappointed. The less others know about the new system, the better. It's not that Jia Yan doesn't trust the Zerg Queen, but just like she won't tell Jia Yan the core of her skills, Jia Yan won't tell her the core secrets of her skills and the core flaws of her fighting. This is a matter of principle, not to mention that he is not very close to the Zerg Queen. Even if she has taught him the basics, it is still not possible for Jia Yan to trust her with her life. Congratulations to Jia Yan, you have improved again. When Jia Yan restrained his cultivation methods and silently walked out of the first-class palace where he was training, the Zerg Queen couldn't hear the words of sorrow and joy, which faintly reached Jia Yan's ears. Congratulations, Jia Yan, you have made progress again. Haha, we may be caught up by you soon. That's right, it's amazing. A star core is rare for us to use. But you used it, and you were promoted from the advanced level of Galaxy Elementary to the peak of Galaxy Elementary. It's amazing. If we came, we would be at most one level better than you. Just a little bit. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1891. The surrounding galaxy-level beings were all sarcastic and sarcastic. Although the words spoken by the Zerg Queen did not have a similar feeling, they did not look very good either. Jia Yan just felt their words lightly and didn't respond much. In fact, he could tell the Zerg Queen or others that his current strength may be much higher than that of ordinary beginners, and his future prospects are even brighter. But Jia Yan doesn't want to say it, because if he says it, others can also say that he is arrogant. After all, anyone can use it to explain the future. In his current situation, even after using an entire star core, he has not been promoted to it. Turned out that he was supposed to be promoted to intermediate galaxy. Even if the Zerg Queen listened to his words or verified his current strength, she wouldn't agree too much. No promotion, just no promotion, no matter what you say, it's useless. Okay, Jia Yan, since you have not met my requirements, your treatment will be lower next. Do you agree with this? I agree. Jia Yan did not disagree with the Zerg Queen's judgment at all. People asked him to go to the Zerg domain just so that Jia Yan could help her. But now, Jia Yan has not reached the middle level of the galaxy, and the next step is the journey to the center of the galaxy. He has not reached the strength of the middle level of the galaxy. How can I say this? None of them have much effect, Jia Yan still knows this. Therefore, Jia Yan did not have the slightest idea that he was so judged by the Zerg Queen because the other party looked down on him. This is what both parties agreed on from the beginning, and it is what Jia Yan is expected to achieve. Now that Jia Yan cannot achieve it, he will not complain. Just someone else. Jia Yan felt that this group of people had been sarcastic towards him and smiled lightly. Guys, are any of you at the early stage of the intermediate level of galaxy? Jia Yan looked at the people around him. In fact, there are not many galaxy-level beings in this palace, but there are several intermediate-level ones. After all, the Queen of the Zerg is not a great benevolent person. She wants to cultivate beings above the middle level of the galaxy, so that when she arrives in the center of the galaxy, she can directly command them. The relationship between these people and the Zerg Queen is also excellent. After all, the Zerg Queen has given them a lot of guidance, and they will definitely do their best when they get to the center of the galaxy. This is what the Zerg Queen thinks. Therefore, in the core area of the palace, except for Jia Yan, a person with the peak talent of the galaxy elementary level, there are only a few other galaxy elementary levels. In other words, among the first level galaxy elementary creatures, Jia Yan is actually the only one. Just one person. I am an intermediate beginner. Do you still want to challenge me? A mid-level galaxy creature stood up silently. He also sneered at Jia Yan's words. The intermediate level creatures in the galaxy here, even the intermediate level and elementary beings, are no joke. During the more than a year that the Zerg territory stayed in Jia Yan, it has been expanding its recruitment of external personnel. Even in the later stages, it has been preparing to enter the center of the galaxy, using resources and such gimmicks to attract other galaxy-level people. Strong. Therefore, there were several more middle-level experts than when Jia Yan came. Among these powerful people, there are far fewer beings who can enter the palace. The middle-level being who appears is exactly the middle-level being from the galaxy who has just arrived here in this year. As a mid-level being in the galaxy, this mid-level strong man in the galaxy is absolutely very powerful. In addition, his talent must be extremely terrifying, otherwise he will not be able to enter this palace due to competition. At this moment, he stood up. He finally understood. Jia Yan seemed to want to find a mid-level creature from the galaxy to try his hand at, and then let others think highly of Jia Yan again. Unfortunately, he felt that Jia Yan had found the wrong person. If, like Jia Yan did before, he found a mid-level galaxy practitioner outside the palace, such as Na Behemoth, he felt that Jia Yan had improved his strength to a certain extent. Chances are, among the intermediary beings in the galaxy in this palace, which one is not much stronger than Beeman? If Jia Yan dares to look for them, he is looking for death. Senior, do I want to challenge you to practice your skills? Jia Yan looked at the other person lightly, and it turned out to be a mid-level galaxy being. Today's Jia Yan is only a piece of paper away from the galaxy intermediate. Therefore, although there is still a certain level gap between him and the previous galaxy intermediate, it is not as exaggerated as before. So now I feel that for a mid-level person in the galaxy, there is no longer a feeling of huge pressure in an instant. Haha, it's true, Jia Yan, I've heard about your strength, and I also know that you fought with a mid-level galaxy being in this Zerg training ground. Even before that, you were on your own planet. In the domain, I have killed mid-level beings in the galaxy, but are you sure you want to fight me? My strength is different from that of ordinary mid-level beings in the galaxy, so you may lose. When the other party heard Jia Yan's words, he immediately smiled. I'm sure, Senior, let's give it a try, don't hold back. Jia Yan shook his head and said with certainty. Well, I won't hold back. If there are any casualties, don't think I went too far. The other party sneered. His meaning was very clear, provoking a strong man, although now he is only one level higher than Jia Yan, but after all, he is a big difference, then Jia Yan will have to pay the price. If Jia Yan has that strength, forget it, but if Jia Yan can't even stop him with a certain level of strength, then he will make Jia Yan pay a certain price. This is a very reasonable statement. If Jia Yan challenges, he must be prepared. Of course, if the Zerg Queen is willing to take care of it and the other party really wants to do something serious, she can also stop it. However, looking at the current situation, the Zerg Queen is still angry. She originally thought that Jia Yan could be promoted, but now that he cannot be promoted, she is likely to standing back to some extent. If it was a fatal injury, she might take action, but if it was an injury below that, she probably wouldn't take action. Since Jia Yan wants to be on an equal footing with her, he must shoulder his responsibilities and think of her help in everything else. She has already helped a lot, and other Galaxy-class people who are willing to be loyal to her are starting to complain. The two Galaxy-level powerhouses flew out of the palace together as they spoke. Huh? Did Jia Yan, who just failed to break through, find someone to do something about it? Outside the palace, there were always other Galaxy-level people who had no chance to enter the palace, watching the movements of Jia Yan, a talented Galaxy-level master. As soon as they sensed that Jia Yan had appeared in the universe with another mid-level Galaxy creature, he knew that they were going to take action. Haha, the breakthrough failed. If I want to restore my position in the Queen's heart, I want to find a middle-level strongman to challenge me, so that others will think that he is already a middle-level combat power, right? It's ridiculous. He was looking for that senior. When this senior came earlier, Jia Yan was still in seclusion. This senior challenged two middle-level experts from outside in one breath and defeated them all. Only then was he defeated by Her Majesty the Queen. I heard from inside the palace that Jia Yan was fine with picking the middle-level warriors outside to fight, but he actually picked this excellency. He really wanted to die. That's right, let's just wait for him to lose. Several junior and middle-level Galaxy creatures were outside the palace. I saw Jia Yan and the newcomer from the intermediate Galaxy flying out of the palace together, and then set up their formation. I immediately knew what they were going to do. Many Galaxy-level people are jealous of Jia Yan. It's just that he did show some talent before, and the Queen has always valued him and taught him, so it's hard for these Galaxy-level beings to show off even if they have some criticism towards Jia Yan. Now, Jia Yan's breakthrough failed, and everyone knew that his status in the Queen's mind should have dropped, so everyone was sneering. The Zing-level people inside the palace were sarcastic before, and they, the Zing-levels outside, were even more sarcastic. Everyone is waiting to see Jia Yan's joke. Jia Yan still has a certain chance against some Galaxy mid-level beings whose talents are not very good, but against a Galaxy mid-level being who has good talents and extremely strong combat power, does he still want to win? It's good to be able to escape unscathed. Let's start. When the mid-level Galaxy creature with good fighting ability saw Jia Yan and himself outside the universe, he immediately smiled and rushed towards Jia Yan. The distance between the two sides is 200 kilometers. For a Galaxy-level creature that is dozens of kilometers in size, these 200 kilometers are almost close to the body. So he charged forward in one breath, arriving almost instantly. Jia Yan looked at the charging creature coldly. There were gleams in his eyes. Among these talents, there are countless advanced basic knowledge that he has learned in the Zerg domain over the past year. There are also the superficial things he realized during his previous days of struggle, and of course there are also the unique insights he felt due to his own talent, some of which even the Queen of the Zerg may not know. After all, Jia Yan has his own opportunities and his own path. In more than a year, he has indeed gained a lot, but he has not become a strong man in the ordinary universe system because of these basic knowledge. It only made him understand the basics of power, rather than making him assimilate with others. In fact, this is the true ability of a gifted being. At least for Jia Yan, his combat effectiveness has improved on the original basis, rather than tearing down and rebuilding the previous things. Well done. Jia Yan breathed out. The huge mosquito body suddenly took a step back, and then several of his legs shot out like flying. He didn't choose to retreat. Because he believes that his strength has reached the middle level of the galaxy, not to mention that he has swallowed the star core, and the positive and negative forces have been greatly supplemented by the peak of the first level of the galaxy. His current strength is not as good as that of an orthodox mid-level star. The level exists. If you fight the opponent head-on with a few blows, it shouldn't be a problem. Puff. In an instant, the two sides collided. It's really amazing. At this moment, one of Jia Yan Sr.'s blocked the corner of the opponent's attack. But the huge impact almost broke Jia Yan's foot. Unfortunately, it's not even close, but it's a lot worse. Jia Yan's second foot touched the opponent's head. A mid-level creature with eyes, he is famous for hitting others with his horns. Every time he fights, he will use his horns to hit others so hard that they don't know whether they are alive or dead. Previously, in this Zerg territory, he was relying on this pair of fierce horns. They hit the two mid-level creatures and had to surrender. But now, the terrifying corner that had been moving forward without hesitation was directly blocked by the feet of Jia Yan, the giant Mosquito. Feeling the huge resistance coming from above his head, the other party's expression also changed slightly. Interesting. This mid-level galaxy creature with sharp horns was not too shocking. If Jia Yan would be defeated with just one blow, he would be shocked. After all, this would not be in line with Jia Yan's reputation. This is the Jia Yan he expects. But give me a breakthrough. This mid-level galaxy creature actually used his brute force to knock Jia Yan's foot away. Creak. The pressure on the collision surface where the two parties come into contact increases instantly. Jia Yan felt that what his foot was touching was not a living thing, but an incoming asteroid. The asteroid also increased its power, making it almost impossible for him to withstand it. Haha, this giant horn is quite powerful. Other people's fighting patterns have always changed, but he just relies on his own corner collision to push a fighting method to the limit, which is also powerful on a certain level. Black Sheep was not far from the battle between the two sides, silently watching the battle between Jia Yan and the giant horned creature. He admired the giant horned creature much more than Jia Yan. First of all, the opponent is also a mid-level galaxy creature, although it is far inferior to the Black Sheep who is about to reach the Domain Lord level. But after all, they are still at the same level. Secondly, he likes the work of this giant horn, and he has expressed to his Black Sheep implicitly before that he is willing to follow the leadership of this Black Sheep. Of course, that is after being loyal to the Queen of the Zerg. Black Sheep himself is also loyal to the Queen of the Zerg. At least until his strength does not catch up with the Queen of the Zerg, he will not have too many ideas, so he is so loyal to him. He was also very satisfied. Compared to Jia Yan, his senses were far behind. He wanted to be on an equal footing with the Queen, and wanted to get the Queen's guidance, but the Queen was really nice to him. This was one of the reasons why Black Sheep was not very fond of Jia Yan. So much so that he really expected the giant horned creature to win this battle. You are wrong in saying this. Jia Yan did a good job. He used to rely on small tricks to fight with stronger men than himself, but now he has learned many fighting skills. My advice was not in vain. The voice of the Zerg Queen sounded beside Black Sheep. Black Sheep quickly shut up, not daring to say more. Dear, click in and give a good review. The higher the score, the faster the update. It is said that those who give full marks to the new ones finally find beautiful wives. The mobile site has a new revision and upgrade address, data and bookmarks are synchronized with the computer site, no ads. Refreshing reading. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1892. In the Zerg domain, the Zerg Queen is still the leader. They generally don't dare to refute what the Queen says. What's more, Jia Yan did perform pretty well. At least with the strength of an elementary creature from the galaxy, he withstood the impact of the giant horn. That was a real occurrence, and Black Sheep couldn't refute it. It can be seen that this guy, seems to have some extraordinary gains. However, this is not the reason for me to go back on my promise. In this battle, no matter whether he wins or loses, the treatment he receives will be reduced. That is absolutely. The Zerg Queen calmly stayed in the palace, observing the battle outside with her brainwave power, and then sighed. Why didn't she know that Jia Yan couldn't break through to the intermediate level? There must be some changes, and this change made Jia Yan willing to give up promotion. Choosing to make that kind of change must be something of great benefit. But failure is failure. What she wants now is quick combat power, not to mention that both parties have already agreed. Jia Yan must have been prepared when he made this choice, and his future treatment will be reduced. Then she will fulfill her promise. Bang! The battle between the two sides became fierce from the beginning. To be honest, Jia Yan's stubbornness made Zhe Jiao a little depressed. He previously believed that his strength, at least before Jia Yan used his subspace talent, was absolutely crushing. But he never expected that Jia Yan would have such terrifying strength, and he could completely resist his strength in an instant. This made Zhe Jiao feel the pressure. This Jia Yan can resist my attack now, and his subspace talent is the most powerful. So, I haven't even forced him to use his subspace talent? How is that possible? Zhe Jiao felt unbelievable pressure in his life. Because of his strength, he had always been relatively powerful before. Otherwise, how could he have defeated a group of mid-level experts in this Zerg territory and got the chance to enter the palace? Moreover, his residence is also Class A, the same as Jia Yan's, so he is thinking that even if Jia Yan's talent is not bad, because he is a middle-level powerhouse, it is impossible for Jia Yan to be better than him. Everyone, they are all talented people who have reached the first level. It doesn't make sense that his strength is one level higher than Jia Yan's and he will still lose, right? But unfortunately, Jia Yan was doing something that made him unbelievable, that is, he was really evenly matched with him. Humph, he is definitely holding on for dear life now. That yin and yang Dao definitely has some explosive power, and then he uses this kind of power that damages his foundation to fight me. This is not impossible for Jia Yan. Because now he has become a little disappointed with the Zerg Queen, then he must find a way to increase the Zerg Queen's trust in him, and he can only defeat a higher level talent in battle. Otherwise, his status will definitely plummet. After figuring out these joints, the giant horn looked sinister. According to his idea, Jia Yan now seems to be using a trump card that cannot be discovered by others. This is not impossible, because no one can tell what form an existing trump card is. Maybe Jia Yan's trump card is it a kind of existence that makes others look like a normal fighting method? In this way, if he uses his trump card, but he has been using ordinary fighting methods, not daring to hurt the opponent or using his trump card, there is still a certain possibility of losing. After all, there is a small level difference between the two parties, but Jia Yan has also reached at the top, the gap is not as huge as imagined. Do you want to use me as your stepping stone? What a beautiful idea. This giant horn looked very ugly. Click. A pair of giant horns suddenly exploded with a black force. The entire universe was already dark enough, but the power of this giant horn actually made the entire universe feel extremely black. What's this? Jia Yan was slightly startled. In fact, his thoughts are somewhat the same as what Zhe Jiao thinks he wants to do. The only difference is that most of the strength Jia Yan is using now is because of his ordinary strength. If there is a trump card that even the Queen of the Zerg cannot discover, it will definitely shock others. Even if there is, Jia Yan will consider whether to hide this trump card, knowing that even the domain lords cannot discover it. In the future, you never know when the real trump card will be, so why waste the chance of being discovered by this move in this kind of dispute? There is actually black power on the giant horn. This power seems to be some kind of trump card. Jia Yan was slightly startled, then sneered. Did Zhe Jiao use his trump card? But thinking about it, he shouldn't give it his all, otherwise the Zerg Queen would stop their fight now, because a fight is a fight, and if it involves harming lives or affecting the future relationship between the two parties, the Zerg Queen will naturally take action, that way affecting her future plans. This is also the reason why the Zerg Queen has always allowed everyone to compete, but she has not let go of killing. After all, she wants to get a team that supports her and is harmonious in the center of the galaxy, not a team where everyone regards others as their enemies and everyone is extremely vigilant. He didn't use the real trump card, so I won't use it. Jia Yan smiled, and then he retreated into the subspace. Bang! The giant horn stabbed into the air in one breath. Huh? He finally used his subspace talent. It's like I can make him use his subspace talent now. Zhe Jiao was not too shocked by Jia Yan's hiding in the subspace, because everyone had been here for a year, and they still knew a little bit about other people's general information. A large part of Jia Yan's strength lies in his subspace talent, so everyone regards his subspace talent as his business card, pinning it on Jia Yan's head. Now, Jia Yan finally did not choose to fight head-on, but retreated into the subspace to avoid this suspected killer move. This made Zhe Jiao sigh a little bitterly, because Jia Yan seemed to recognize his strength and face up to his feel. Humph, it doesn't matter if you use it. Next, I will make you lose to me under the subspace tactics. Zhe Jiao secretly glanced in the direction of the palace, which was the area where the Zerg Queen was. He found that the Zerg Queen was using a move that seemed to be a weakened version of her trump card. She had no intention of stopping him and he was relieved. He was cheating, or in other words, violating the basic requirements of this battle, but since the Zerg Queen didn't say anything, no one would say anything. Jia Yan was looked down upon by many people, so no one spoke for Jia Yan. Is it useful to hide in the subspace? Watch me disrupt your subspace and see how you hide. This giant horned creature, with a pair of black horns in front of it, instantly exploded into a cloud of black mist after being avoided by Jia Yan. This mist was extremely terrifying, swallowing it up in an instant, filling the entire space with black. What shocked others even more was that the mist penetrated the subspace. The mist that penetrated into the subspace twisted the entire subspace to its limit. This is true for the first-dimensional subspace, and it is also true for the second-dimensional subspace. Even the three-dimensional subspace was distorted to a large extent after an instant. In such a place, even if subspace talent exists, it will become difficult to move. After all, as mid-level creatures in the galaxy, they have a certain understanding of subspace or gravitational wave systems. Therefore, it is not too big to destroy the stability of subspace and gravitational wave systems and then cause such a big impact on the existence of this talent. Surprising behavior is like standard equipment, everyone can do it. However, you have your Zhongliang plan, mine, my single plank bridge. Jia Yan is in the subspace, so naturally he will not be so profoundly affected by creatures with non-subspace talents casually. After all, he is a subspace gifted being. How can a non-subspace creature casually affect a subspace gifted creature? This is like a master who uses a gun, but is affected by an enemy who can't use a gun, but then it is still easy to kill the enemy in his own area of interest. Everyone knows this, and Zhe Jiao certainly has his reasons for doing this. The biggest reason is to destroy Jia Yan's foothold in the subspace, making it impossible for him to settle in the subspace, and then allow Jia Yan to appear and abandon his own greatest advantageous talent. In this way, Zhe Jiao will have maybe defeat Jia Yan. Of course, the idea is good. Will Jia Yan do what he wants? Give me stability. Buzz. Inside the subspace, as Jia Yan released his shocking natural power in the third subspace, the surrounding subspace actually stabilized. The terrifying black power released by the giant horn just now was actually stabilized by Jia Yan. How is it possible? Didn't he say that his subspace talent is not of this level before? Why has he improved so much in 1 year? Jihorn was shocked. Even a group of other galaxy-level creatures around them were shocked. Jia Yan's subspace talent has been thoroughly studied before. Everyone has come to the conclusion that most of Jia Yan's subspace talent relies on talent. Some people suspect that he has been able to enter the 8th level of subspace. The space is deep, but his utilization rate of his subspace talent is very low because he was born in a barren area, because there are no subspace cultivation methods to teach him there. But what he never expected was that just 1 year later, Jia Yan actually learned to stabilize the subspace created by others. Even if this stability does not seem very familiar, it is definitely enough to prevent him from being forced out of the subspace at the 3rd level of the subspace. Asshole, is this the result of the Queen's teaching? If it were me, my utilization rate of the giant horn would definitely be improved, so Jia Yan, you must lose, so that in the future we can use the time you were taught by the Queen to divide it among us. The giant horn looked extremely ferocious. Everyone thought that this was because Jia Yan had received guidance from the Queen of the Zerg, and that he had made earth-shattering progress within a year. But what they didn't know was that during this year, Jia Yan had indeed asked the Zerg Queen about his subspace talent, but in more aspects, he had asked about the basic knowledge of cultivation, about himself. He did not ask too much about the subspace talent, because Jia Yan knew that the Zerg Queen was not a subspace talent. Even if she was a domain lord, she knew a lot of relevant knowledge, and she could almost teach anyone. It should be impossible to travel to creatures in the 9th dimension. Therefore, the progress within this year was the result of Jia Yan himself slowly figuring out the results after improving his basic knowledge. Although it is also inseparable from the teachings of the Zerg Queen, the biggest reason is that Jia Yan himself is smart and knows how to draw inferences from one example. If not, how could it be used in actual combat now? Haha, defeat me. Jia Yan saw that he had stabilized the subspace, and then smiled slightly. Then, from inside the subspace, he suddenly rushed all the way from stability to the twisted 2nd floor, and then to the 1st floor. He advanced all the way, the unstable 2nd floor and the 1st floor. The interior of the subspace on the 1st floor actually stabilized in an instant. How come? The giant horn that was shocked just now because Jia Yan was able to stabilize the line was even more shocked now. I have heard of talented people who can stabilize the subspace, but I have never heard of talented people who can instantly calm the already chaotic subspace. How did Jia Yan do it? And at the moment when he cloned himself, Jia Yan had already rushed out of the subspace. Then, a front foot, in front of the giant horn's head that had just released the black mist, suddenly rushed out of the subspace, entered the normal space, and then touched the top of the giant horn's head. The entire front and top of the foot is blue, which shows how sharp the toes are. If it penetrated the giant horn's head, death would probably be the result. You lose, Senior Zhujiao. Jia Yan's laughter came faintly from inside this twisted subspace. The master's moves are often so fast. Even if the giant horn is unwilling to give in, even if the surrounding creatures have not had enough, it is over when it is over. A little surprise, or concealment, can lead to an instant victory or defeat. Zhujiao was momentarily confused. He didn't know that he could lose so happily. It's just that after he caused the chaos in the subspace, the energy could not return to the body for a short time because of the release of a certain amount of trump card. He also naturally thought that Jia Yan had just been affected by the chaotic subspace and should not be able to attack him head-on for the time being. Only then did he become careless. If he really wanted to work hard to recover, he should be able to react. Moreover, his trump card is not the complete version. If the complete version is used, the effect is not likely to be a subspace disorder that Jia Yan can easily destroy. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 1893. But nothing happens if you lose, you lose. I give up, Jia Yan, you are amazing. Zhe Jiao looked deeply at Jia Yan, then sighed bitterly, reluctantly accepting his failure. Although he was unwilling to give in, and although he also thought that he should win, in fact, Jia Yan's front foot touched his head, and Jia Yan would kill him with just one effort. If he was still unwilling to give in, then there really would be no chance. The style of a master. When you really fight in the future, no one will care whether you are willing to do it or not. If you die like this, no one will be willing to do it for you. So if you lose, you lose. Very good, Jia Yan, you did well, but this is not enough to make up for your failure to advance. Do you agree with this? The Zerg Queen was silent for a while, and then said to Jia Yan. But listening to her tone, it seemed that she was not as cold as before. Everyone knows that in this battle, Jia Yan once again proved that he was not unable to advance as everyone thought before. The combat effectiveness has been greatly improved. This shows that he is likely to use the power of the Star Core to improve other aspects. But rules are rules. The Zerg Queen said something to make Jia Yan agree with her fault, but her tone was not as cold as before, which meant that she agreed with what Jia Yan had done. Okay, I agree. Jia Yan didn't explain much. After all, it was impossible to take back what the Zerg Queen said, not to mention that Jia Yan had indeed promised to advance. Very good. The Star Core is gone now. When you pass by a suitable planet in the future, you can go get it yourself. Good. Jia Yan nodded. Star Cores actually need to be taken by strong people. The fresher the Star Cores, the more powerful the effect. And because Star Cores are unique materials, after leaving the planet, news will be released quickly, so everyone who absorbs Star Cores will for the strong, it is best to use the Star Core yourself. As for the existence of Star Cores, for many strong people, they almost have to get it and use it themselves. One is the timeliness issue, and the other is that others will not spend a lot of effort to help you get it. The one used by Jia Yan last time the Star Core was actually because in the galaxy level here, he passed by a planet that happened to explode. The Star Core was almost outside. He took it easily. When he came to the Zerg territory, he gave it to the Zerg Queen. The Zerg Queen gave it to Jia Yan as a favor. In this case, Jia Yan actually owes the popularity of two people, the Zerg Queen and the strong man who gave Jia Yan the Star Core. After this battle, Jia Yan returned to his first-class residence. It's just that it's completely different from the situation where he was ridiculed before the war started. This time when he came back here, many of the strong men around him looked at Jia Yan in a different light. In fact, the most intuitive feeling among the strong is combat effectiveness. Combat effectiveness is the basis for everyone to save their lives. As for levels, if there is not much difference, of course the stronger the combat effectiveness, the better. Although Jia Yan did not choose to advance, he just chose to break through his own combat effectiveness. More and more people agreed with this point. It was previously thought that he was not talented enough and could not advance even with a single Star Core, but now it seems that he may have improved his combat effectiveness. Even so, there are still many people who cannot agree with him, and the number of people who can agree with him has increased a lot after all. Of course, the biggest difference is that they look down on Jia Yan, knowing that his combat power has become stronger again, and he can defeat even the first-level Galaxy Intermediate. This means that Jia Yan has officially entered the ranks of the strongest in the Zerg Queen's team. Who dares to insult him easily? It's almost like courting death. Jia Yan, I don't know why you made such a choice, but you chose to break through the combat power first, which is different from my agreement, so I will definitely punish you, and you don't have to be too unhappy. Wait until you are promoted to Galaxy after you reach the intermediate level, I will make up for your treatment according to the situation. Your Majesty, don't worry about my state of mind, I know it. As soon as Jia Yan returned to Class A and was very close to the true form of the Zerg Queen, The other party used the power of brain waves to transmit sounds and said this to Jia Yan. Jia Yan smiled and nodded, not feeling any grudge against the Zerg Queen at all. After all, he is also the master of power. It is difficult to deal with this kind of relationship, and he knows it. Well, you can take a rest now, we are about to set off. Seeing that Jia Yan didn't look angry at all, the Zerg Queen understood that although he was young, he was not ignorant, so she smiled. She was afraid that Jia Yan would be dissatisfied with the results of her handling, and if there was any gap, it would be difficult for her to handle it. Oh? Are you really going to leave? Jia Yan was startled, and then asked solemnly. Yes, I really have to leave. I have been waiting in this Zerg territory for several years. Now the people around me who are willing to follow me have reached the peak. If I wait any longer, my strength will not improve much. People who follow me may even go down instead of going up, so now is the perfect time. It was rare for the Zerg Queen to explain so much to Jia Yan. I understand, Her Majesty the Queen, please don't worry about me and set off on time. In the center of the Milky Way, I can't wait too long. Jia Yan smiled slightly. Of course, the meaning of the above words of the Zerg Queen was revealed to Jia Yan, saying that she was going to the center of the galaxy. After preparing for so long, she couldn't wait. And Jia Yan could understand what she said. This queen has attracted so many powerful people now, and she actually relies on her own personal charm. Even many galactic-level people around her have come to her. But the charm will always be used up, and most of what should come has already come. The farther ones cannot take time to come, and the closer ones are like the previous behemoth. After learning, they either can no longer make progress and leave, or I just learned something, thought there was nothing worth learning and left. After all, everyone has their own family background. Even if many people are willing to follow the Zerg Queen to adventure in a new world, they cannot wait forever. So, now is the best time. After Jia Yan agreed, the Zerg Queen ignored him. In fact, even if Jia Yan disagrees, she will leave. Jia Yan can leave if he wants to. If he doesn't want to leave, he will keep the energy and teaching energy spent in the past year, and the Zerg Queen will let him go. Yes, those who leave at this time need to hand over the resources provided by the Zerg territory. After all, the Zerg territory has to take care of such a large number of galaxy-level beings, and the cost is countless. If you leave without handing over anything, wouldn't it mean that you are leaving this place? Is the Zerg territory regarded as a welfare star territory? Next, the news that the Zerg territory was ready to go was instantly transmitted in all directions. Within a month, countless resources were sent back from everywhere. Within the Zerg territory, there are also many high-level officials and strong men who are delivering large amounts of supplies to the strong teams here. Of course, there are also many people who are trying to persuade the Zerg Queen not to leave. The Zerg territory relied on the Zerg Queen to reach its peak. However, Her Majesty the Queen actually left the Zerg territory all of a sudden. In this way, so many enemies that the Zerg territory was already facing are likely to counterattack. When the time comes, the Zerg territory will without the Queen, there is no way the Great Region can stop it. Fortunately, the Zerg Queen did not have any arrangements for this. First of all, she has ordered that among the galaxy-level powerhouses who go to the center of the galaxy, there will be a few Zerg area defenders left behind to act as vacuum period defenders, and they will be replaced every few years. In addition, there are many strong men in the surrounding star field who have become powerful with the support of the Zerg Queen and the Zerg territory. Therefore, they have inherited the Zerg territory's affection. When the time comes, if there is any attack, as long as it is not unstoppable and terrifying, these strong men didn't mind helping out and selling it to the Zerg Queen. Besides, the Queen of the Zerg is not dead. Anyone who wants to invade the Zerg territory must consider whether the super terrifying territory lord level existence will return to fight back. In this way, in fact, there is not much danger in the Zerg domain. Finally, after a month, it slowly arrived. What shocked everyone was that during this month, part of their galaxy-level team chose to leave after careful consideration. But at the same time, some powerful people from the outside world chose to join. Of course, these strong men were beings who had been taught by the Queen of the Zerg in the Zerg domain. Each of them left the Zerg territory for various reasons, but now, they have returned. Not only were there no fewer teams than expected, there were even more. Okay, is everyone ready? Already prepared? Haha, Her Majesty Queen, do you think we are ready? We have been waiting for many years. Don't worry about us, we are already gearing up and waiting to enter the center of the galaxy. I just want to see how strong those so-called strong men in the center of the galaxy are. We are all looking forward to every galaxy level, as well as more creatures of all levels and types that serve galaxy-level existences. The center of the Milky Way is like a holy place to the creatures in this star field. Because the Orion Arm is further away from the Milky Way, the creatures there all know that there are powerful people in the center of the Milky Way, and there are even more powerful civilizations, but it is too far away, and everyone has no imagination. But it's different here. Although it's far away, it's also a little closer. Moreover, the strong people here are more powerful. They are even more deeply influenced by the cultivation culture in the center of the Milky Way. So everyone is looking forward to it. Let's see. What does the so-called center of the Milky Way look like? Jia Yan, as a galaxy class from the most remote area, was silently watching the current situation. He wasn't that excited. Because he knows that things in the center of the Milky Way are definitely not that simple. As a strong man running around, he has experienced similar feelings several times, so he understands that when he reaches the center of the Milky Way, among these strong men, it is estimated that a good part of it is going to die. He just hopes now that he is not the one who dies. Originally, Jia Yan always believed that he had good talent, good fighting ability, and always had good luck. But in fact, apart from luck, after carefully understanding the center of the Milky Way, he somewhat agreed that his talent and combat effectiveness did not seem to be too outstanding. At least it's not prominent in the center of the Milky Way. According to legend, there are as many powerful people as cabbages everywhere. Galaxy-level beings are everywhere. Is it possible that even high-level galaxies and even the top of the galaxy can exist in the center of the galaxy? Jia Yan's gleaming compound eyes were faintly full of expectation. Okay, everyone is looking forward to the center of the Milky Way, let's go. The Zerg Queen gave the command. Next, a large wave of battleships, even planets, and even the huge palace where the Zerg Queen and Jia Yan were located, actually moved. The palace is based on the planet, and the entire huge planet is moving. The means of science and technology are working, and the methods of the strong are also working. Because the Zerg domain is actually a star domain civilization that completely integrates technology and strong systems. It can be said here that it is more advanced than the Orion Arm and even all the star domains that Jia Yan has seen. Much more. With the help of such means, it is still very possible to accomplish something similar to the relocation of the entire stellar field. And the Queen of the Zerg spent a lot of money to build a huge energy circle outside the entire huge marching group that could no longer be explained by a fleet. This energy circle is somewhat similar to the energy circle that TNG built outside the Orion Arm by relying on technology and powerful methods, but it is much more condensed than that. In this circle, everything is under the guidance of the Zerg Queen's power. All materials inside can move forward quickly. In this way, the entire energy circle is as huge as a star system, flying forward together. Such a huge move made Jia Yan think that the surrounding environment had hardly changed. Except for the huge gaseous planet that provided them with energy, everything else was exactly the same as before the move. Let's go, the target this time is 25,000 light-years away, the center of the Milky Way. Jia Yan stood proudly inside the first-class hall, looking at the fast-moving outside scenery. For a moment, he felt a little dazed. As a small web on the earth, he has really come this far. To be honest, Jia Yan was a little emotional. There was luck and necessity along his journey, but it was still very disappointing to have reached this point. In short, in the future, this little mosquito that walked out of the earth will finally enter the most important and most terrifying center of the entire galaxy. When he gets there, he is already looking forward to what kind of encounters he will encounter and what powerful people there will be. Is it the center of the Milky Way? Haha, I am excited by their atmosphere. The flying speed of the huge energy circle gradually exceeded the speed of light. Then, it flew between gravitational waves and subspace, traveling between the two spaces at an unbelievable speed.